Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ALGS. The Apex Legends Global Series is in year 3, and we are hitting our stride, heading towards playoffs and LAN. Many of the images you just saw coming from those historic moments. Who will create the new ones and will be left behind to watch from their computer screens in agony, wishing that maybe next season they get their games together? Well, we are in day 8 of 10 days to determine who that will be. And so everything is getting more intense, more exciting, and more important. My name is Rain Day. I'm your host, and thank you so much, Apex community, for tuning in. You are the best in the business, and we love you. And of course, I cannot do it alone. I would love to. I love hanging out with you in the chat, but I got to bring on 2 of my casters today and people that I love hanging out with, Vicky Kitty and Spider Tiff, to get day 8 going. Welcome, Vicky. How you feeling? We are here for a good day of Apex Legends.
I mean, after the action we saw go down in APAC, how can I not be excited for the action going down today in the EMEA region? It's going to be a great time, especially after everything that we've seen go down in the competitive Apex space throughout this week.
Tiff, what does it feel like? I mean, it's kind of getting to do or die for a lot of these teams.
Do or die, that is the question here. We only have 2 match days left, with today being one of them. So those teams that are on the bubble looking to stand out, this is your moment to shine. You mentioned it. Let's see it.
A versus C. These meetings happened between this group, and Ascend was on top, but Ascend isn't qualified yet. In fact, only a few teams are already qualified for that LAN. Let's take a look at who they are. I see a big fan favorite in Pulverex. They'll be at LAN again, famously fighting with just 2 players and making it into the championship day in the finals, and having some amazing moments. Also, Godfire from South America and Brazil. Tiff, I'll start with you. Anybody stand out in terms of our teams already who will be going to LAN?
Chicken sandwich? No, I'm sorry. Every time
You're
I say
hungry,
chicken
huh?
sandwich, I just get hungry with teams coming out of APAC South like chicken sandwich, popcorn. It's just been a joy. It's kind of interesting because APAC South went to match, you know, obviously it's that match point format, but it was the shortest. And then APAC North, I woke up this morning, Vicky, you mentioned the action was still going on. Crazy Raccoon able to withstand the distance and take that W in game 13, but those are just some of the names that are standing out to me.
You know, I love the concept of it's year 2073. His Watson's grandson is now playing in the same in game 4000 of Match Point. There's some funny elements on Twitter, people talking about how long it went. It certainly was in the conversation, but let's look at the participants for today, Vicky. Let's give me a top-down overview of what we got going on in A versus C.
As you can see right now, we have a great action with Ascend always dominating this lobby. We need to see something change up a little bit. I'm looking at Aurora to stay as consistent as they have been, and then I'm also looking at the teams that need to perform today. I'm looking at Nightmare Esports, who are on the cusp, sitting in 10th place in the overall standings here in the EMEA region. If they perform well today, they could easily make it into LAN.
It's a great point, Vicky, because what happens is the first team to win the match point in a regional final, they go, but then it's the following 9 teams. So if you're 10th, you might actually have a chance, but you want to be 10th, 8th, 9th, 7th, if you can, to secure that you'll go there with points. Let's take a look, though, at our standings for today. She mentioned that Nightmare need a move, Game Ward need a move, Foot Esports, they kind of need a move as well, especially because they're right on the cusp, Tiff, of not being able to be in this top 20.
Yeah, that is something that is to note, but Group C does have that kind of game in hand. So not only do they get to play today, but they will get to play on that final match day, giving them twice the amount of time to put as much scoring as they can. Because if you look through 5 through 9 that are already kind of seeded there, that's all Group B. So they only have one more day after this as well. So Reply Totem, V2, Game Ward, all of these teams in Group C, they got to show out today and then double down again on the next match day to find some success, secure their spot in the top 20, and do well in that regional final.
All right, Vicky, teams who are in trouble, you look at this, 23-30, not where you want to be.
Absolutely not. I mean, we saw Corpa have a pretty nice pop-off day. I believe it was day number 7. So, you know, when you take a look at some of these squads that are now performing, they're at risk of relegations. I'm also looking at Gaming Gladiators, who also need to perform. It's basically a do-or-die moment for this squad, so that way they can actually stay here in the ALGS.
But you know what's interesting? Every single day we come into an ALGS broadcast, we actually have to look at the top, who's overperforming, who can continue that performance in the bottom. Right now, it's even more important to look at those distinctions and the dichotomy of who's already successful and who needs to pick up the success. Otherwise, it may just be too little, too late. So I want to start with you, Tiff. Who do you have your eye on for today?
Look, you kind of mentioned them briefly earlier in that show. It's going to be Foot Esports. I just feel like this team on the cusp, right there in the top 20. You can see the trio, former Flavor of the Month roster picked up just prior to Pro League Split 1, consisting of Taylor, Noth, and Kohia. I mean, Taylor's incredibly experienced, has been competing in Apex since the preseason invitational in Poland. Taylor, not that long-form duo, finding a lot of success. But the question is, can they keep up the momentum, secure themselves in the top 20, and then go on to win that match point to garner themselves a position in playoffs? The question is, can they do it, Vicky? I don't know. Who you got?
I gotta talk about Aurora. You talk about the squads that gotta make it out here. Well, this is one of the most consistent squads that we've been able to see in the EMEA region. They got second place in their first group matchup, losing out to only Ascend. I mean, that's no surprise out here looking at the way that Ascend's been able to perform. But fourth day, for day number 3, they got fourth. They got 6 day 5, and then the cherry on top was their day 6 performance where they placed first. But if there's a team that could give Ascend a run for their money, it's definitely gotta be Aurora with their very strange and very fun team composition. And when I highlight that, I'm talking about the Wraith, Mad Maggie, Caustic, variations of the Bloodhound and Seer that we get to see on World's Edge and Stormpoint. It's going to be a great way to see how Aurora's going to be able to pull out Rain Day. You got a team on your mind?
I do, but that Dark Veil, one to mention as well, also Aurora playing Catalyst, that's Maliwan. But let's talk about the old Le Site de France, picked up by Game Ward and having a nice season, but it needs to be even better. They're sitting in 18th place, meaning right now they are in our regional final and they've got a chance to win it and go to LAN. But if they don't do that, then they are out. They will not be there. But this team has so much quality. I feel like 2 sessions of really good performances here today and another on day 9 will put them in the position to maybe get into that top 10. I do think, though, that it's going to take time. The all-French team have to be building off the French nationalism that I'm sure they experienced after beating England in the World Cup yesterday, and I know it's tough for my English friends, but it's got to mean that France is feeling good, waking up this morning knowing things are going their way. I wonder if that all-French team can make the difference. But we've seen records broken all throughout this season, Tiff and Vicky. And, you know, Vicky started with the Sin, pulling off one of the winningest match days that we've ever seen. Only Optic have even come close to tying that performance.
Yeah, if anything that APAC taught us, especially looking at the way that Crazy Raccoon ended their stride with 13 KP, taking that first place spot, is that you have to be the most consistent winningest team, and Ascend does that. They broke out with records, getting 102 points in their day 5 performance, winning 4 games, getting third in another. And if Ascend wants to keep breaking records, I mean, we're all here for it. This is one of the lobbies that they pop off the most. Are they going to break any more records? I mean, I'll be surprised if they do, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Last match day, too, Tiff, there was a team that could have won it. Ascend could have won it, but also Vex, because they won that final fight, they ended up taking the day. Vex have been on a tear, too, also creating some records here in EMEA.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch teams like Vex Gaming just kind of all send it on the eliminations. They're not playing zone. They're not doing something that doesn't really work out for them, and it's paying off in dividends. They broke, no, I lied, tied. The tie with Detonator Gaming, 23 eliminations. Now, my question is, I'm not a really big fan of ties, and I want to see them go the distance, so I'm going to need 24 eliminations in a match day out of them.
It's a tall task, and it feels like Vex can do it. Ascend winning 4 of the 6 games. Vex getting and tying the highest global kills in a game with 23. Records being broken all over the place. So we see a new record today. Well, we don't know, but if you haven't seen these, check out your screen. QR code means that you open up your camera, you face that towards this code right here, and it'll take you to the POV of Ascend in that record-breaking performance that they had, winning 4 of 6 games in a match day. Will they do it again today? We have to find out in just a moment. We're getting ready to go into game, and where will we start? That's where the map schedule will give you the information. World's Edge will be the beginning, and Storm Point will be the end. So we'll start off with something more consistent and established, and we'll switch up a little bit more chaos and see if the Catalyst, the Bangalores, can rise, thrive, and maybe terrorize some of the teams at the top and invigorate our bottom teams to make a move here with only a few days left before our regional final. If you want to see a certain team where you're interested in some of the stories we've set up for you thus far, maybe you say, hey, who cares what Vicky, Tiff, and Randy have to say? I know who I want to watch. That's why we have multi-view. You can watch the broadcast and you can watch every other POV just because you want to. See their rotations, their final fights, that last circle and that moment that you maybe wouldn't have caught on main broadcast, but you can catch because you're following along with the action of one of your fan favorites. Check out the Command Center and enjoy the ALGS your way with the multi-view. All right, so one of the things I love to talk about are weapons. I geek out over the fact that something has a certain magazine size. This is the headshot damage. Oh, they adjusted this. I really think that it's some of the most important nuanced elements that gets casual fans and high-level Apex players excited. And there's no more important weapon over the course of 6 seasons, in my opinion, than what the assault rifles have done. And speaking of a very interesting assault rifle, you have a chance, thanks to WD Black, to find out what's in your pack for today's afternoon, and I believe that's got to be the flatline, Vicky. There's no more interesting weapon, and we saw it put to great use over the last couple of games.
Yeah, one of my favorite weapons when it comes to hip firing that and actually getting the consistency of those shots landed here too. As you can see with Vex Gaming, you saw Tyler pop off in this game alone. I believe he did secure second, but it was a fact of cleaning up a lot of these other squads with the flatline, and of course with the fact that he was able to hip fire that flatline to actually secure that second place finish while also securing a lot of KP for Vex.
Yeah, Tiff, I mean, look at the fact that when you have a solo situation, you know, there's not a lot of guns you would trade out for a flatline. Just so much headshot damage and also the ability to finish like this, hitting big numbers. Even though they didn't win, Tyler FPS showing us, look, with this last shot you can see of the magazine. Look at the slow-mo there. He's going to pause up, and just with the final bullet, hits one headshot and another, and ends up taking an extra placement point and an extra kill. Tiff, that's just what the flatline could do.
I mean, it's impeccable, really, especially when you can get that hip fire coupled with like the toggle crouching. They're just spamming it. Next thing you know, you can't combat that. I mean, granted, I do love the R301. I've been an R301 enjoyer since the very beginning, but more and more now I find myself picking up the flatline just because I get to witness what all the talent gets to do with it. I mean, I'm no Tyler FPS, but
I thought, you know, because I thought Tyler FPS was on the broadcast today. So, Tiff, now you're throwing me. I don't know how to react to this. All jokes aside, Vex, we'll see them later on in the ALGS. But today, that was WD Black's What's in Your Pack. Thanks for allowing us to highlight the flatline, one of my favorite weapons as well. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. You've watched, you've waited, we've set the story up. Now it's time for the players to write their own narrative. We'll see who can step up here in day number 8 of our ALGS and EMEA. As we kick it off, I'll hand it over to Vicky Kitty and Spider Tiff to call the action.
Thank you so much, Rain Day. I'm so excited to be alongside my girl Tiff, day number 8, and I can't believe we only have 2 more days of action after this, Tiff. Time has flown by, and a lot of these squads need to secure the KP necessary to be in that top 10 spot.
They definitely do, and a lot of teams on the cusp that need to throw down. I'm looking at Group C, who gets to go back to back, and I feel like they've got to start strong here and really carry that momentum forward. And as soon as we see that zone, essentially, I'm looking at Fire Beavers and Ember that are going to be able to really find success from this.
Now taking a look at the map and where Circle's going to be pulling, we don't have a beacon in that north building, north of Fragment West, where we usually see it get contested very early on. But since it does look like we're going to be having a north circle here, Tiff, I'm looking at the squads that are going to be contested in the choke points exiting out of the southern part of the map. As we look at Aurora, one of my favorite teams to watch because they're rocking a comp that you don't really get to see in the other regions. They're rocking the Caustic, whereas you see a lot of teams usually rocking the Watson and the Maggie and the Wraith. I know one of Fallout's favorites out here, where instead of using the Pride and True Valkyrie for the Skyward Dive, instead you really have a portal to get out of pesky situations for those rotates.
Yeah, but I feel like Aurora, with the aggressive nature that they have, not only would they use that portal to get out of those pesky situations you mentioned, they might actually use it to portal into an engagement and have that kind of safe retreat behind them. The only issue with them having that Wraith on their team composition is that they're probably the only one in the lobby with the Wraith, so you can be easily identified by the other teams in the lobby.
Yeah, that's nice to highlight too. I believe we also have 1 Gibby, 1 Ash, 1 Rampart, so a plethora of characters to actually look at in this lobby that a lot of these other teams are taking out. I know we've been seeing some composition swaps in other regions while we move into this final week here in the Pro League, and it's interesting to see how some of these squads looking at Optic Gaming in North America to try things out at the very end here. But with Aurora, they've been sticking to this comp basically on World's Edge, and I believe seeing their results, they have gotten the best results on World's Edge versus Stormpoint. So it's nice to note that Aurora have been able to find something different that allows them to make things work.
I will take that.
It could be that Wraith is just more beneficial on World's Edge, shorter distance between the POIs, utilizing the Void when necessary to jump into some of these buildings. And as they kind of make their way through Fragment, there was a beacon over there, so that is going to be able to give them information if they had that kind of recon character to let them get it. But unfortunately, they're just continuing up towards north. And Vicky, I wanted this to be one of those moments where we get a big hit on Climatizer.
Oh no. you may have cursed it, Tiff. I hope not. We saw so many of those Climatizer finishes in the very first week. I like to see a little bit of a mix-up because I'm still reeling from that moment. But as we also tune into a squad like Nightmare Esports, this team has a lot on the line today. They're sitting on the cusp of not qualifying into LAN, and if there's a team that can be consistently second in of actually obtaining those second place finishes, it could be a team like this. I know one of their teammates actually on Twitter had tagged us, letting us know, you know, Nightmare, they're pretty consistent on getting second place. As we tune into actually early fighting going down here, it's gonna be Forge losing out on Phoenix, and they came out on top. Phoenix Legacy, the first squad to go out in this lobby.
Ooh, Phoenix Legacy. I feel like they've been doing really well throughout this week. Granted, you know, G-Dolphin was subbing in on that team. Now they have a new third once again. And I feel like they've been hitting their stride through scrims and other tournaments, but I'm really sad to see them go out here first. But Forge is one of those teams that needs to solidify themselves. Not only are they in the top 20, but within that top 9, because regional final is obviously the end game goal for these teams to qualify for that split 1 playoffs. We're only a week away.
Yeah, you talk about how Phoenix Legacy needs to perform today. Gaming Gladiators, another team that wants to be able to perform to avoid getting relegated into the qualifiers because they just lost out on one of their teammates, it looks like, in the feed here. So another squad that looks to be in trouble. It's Aurora that have the high ground here over Nightmare Esports. This is a nice spot to contest a lot of the squads that are in the middle of rotating away from Geyser, rotating away from Fragment East. So with Aurora holding this spot here, you can expect the block to get pretty hot out here for Aurora if they manage to stay on this point and actually contest the other squads in the middle of this rotation.
It's really interesting how quickly Ascend has been on the move. The last I saw or heard, they were down near Landslide, and you can see they're making their way over towards Survey Camp in that picture-in-picture map. But Aurora doing a really good job just holding this cliffside, which is a really fun place to play if you're looking to kind of gatekeep the teams, pick up eliminations throughout the way. And a lot of teams such as Heroes taking to the sky, making their way all the way up north. And with a lot of teams kind of coupling around Epicenter and Survey Camp, I'm starting to think that's where, in effect, it will pull. But ASCII finding some resistance the moment they land.
This is the issue here, Tiff. When it comes to Heroes actually making that land with the Skyward Dive, they're putting themselves in a risky situation with some of the squads already with their fast rotates, like Aurora leaving Harvester immediately towards that cliff side of Epicenter. Some of these teams want to already get ahead of the curve with their comp, rocking the Watson, where they want to secure some of these buildings here in Climatizer.
I think it's the teams that are facing like on the bubble that know that they need to rotate in, play it safe, but they're also going to have to couple it with eliminations. And especially we got Gaming Gladiators just on the very outside of the ring, still down by Lava Siphon, need to get through Harvester. They have the inkling that someone is in front of them, so this could be an interesting and tough rotation for them. Although they are just outside, they want to make sure that they can get Leogree back in the game without drawing a lot of attention to themselves.
Yeah, this is just going to force out a lot of meds from them. You can see that Sunset at least has 2 med kits to work with, but if they can get Leogree into this game, they can at least try to reset. I believe that's Start a Fight who are rotating outside of Harvester, and Harvester does have that beacon over to the side. Once we take a look at that map I saw earlier on, yeah, you can see it right there on the mini map. So not only will Gaming Gladiators be forced to use their meds, but this is a give and take situation for this squad where they could get the beacon control, they'll know where the next circle's pulling, and they can get Leogree right back into this map.
Fire Beavers and a little bit of a scuffle. Lot of damage being taken on the side of Fire Beavers, but they do have 2 downs already. Just need to find the 3rd player. Arcstar is going out. They are able to redeem themselves and going in with Impulse on the fuse. Knuckle clusters coming out. This is just detrimental for the team on the other end, and it's going to be the end for V2.
V2 out. I'm getting a little bit of my PTSD from the Winter Express. Even though the train's broken down out here, it's the plethora of the fuse and the knuckle clusters, and of course the mortar flame coming out here too. But Fire Beavers cleaning up that fight real quick allows them to secure this north side of where the circle is going to be pulling. And since it is actually pulling away from Climatizer towards the north side of the train tracks, they have a nice, pretty easy rotation into the north side. Well, they'll have that slight high ground over the other squads that are going to be rotating away from Survey Camp and Epicenter.
Ooh, that'll be a really interesting rotation for a lot of the teams that are trying to find themselves all the way towards the north of Survey Camp, because that is likely going to already be occupied by a plethora of teams. But a little poke fighting damage from this beautiful free cam thanks to our observers. Turkish Stars are the ones that are just basically griefing the team on the other side. A little bit of a split pull by them. You can see that Foes is just really anchoring in this moment, but I really think that's a good move for the other team to take to the sky. Not really connecting on a lot of shots, but Scars needing to find themselves on the rotation. They do not want to get caught out here.
Yeah, talk about the two squads that absolutely need to perform. It's Scars and Turkish Stars out here that are actually at risk of being relegated into the qualifiers. With Scars taking to the skies, though, they're going to be able to secure a building over here in Skyhook. Taking a longer approach into the circle, though, ensures that they are going to be able to at least get some free rotates. They're going to also have the ability to use that Seer passive to see if there's any other squads that are going to try to gatekeep them. But this should be a nice, secure spot and rotation for Scars to make their way into Skyhook. Now, the question is, which of the teams are going to be waiting for them by the open mouth of the train tracks that lead into that middle area where a lot of the squads are going to be fighting for control on the outskirts of Survey Camp?
That is a really good point, and I'm just curious if maybe they'll take to the north of Skyhook and go through the chokehold on the very upper side. A little more risky, because I feel like that one is going to be easily held by another team that could gatekeep them. So Scars really have their work cut out for them, and I feel like just bide your time, come up with that game plan, let them flow, because I really want to see Scars do incredibly well here.
And they have to perform. They are taking some shots right now. I believe that's Game Ward that are on the other side of Skyhook. You can see it in that mini map earlier on with that preview, and with Scars noting that there is that team that could potentially circle keep them. The circle is obviously going to continuously pull way more to the right. Nice shots here from Aimbot with that G7, one of my favorite weapons to use out here. And the Elster from that far away must be a nice stock that Scars is working with. Nice recoil control over on the other side too, but just poking a little bit of damage. Aimbot now taking a look at both teams that are kind of circling around where their rotation would be. I think the squad that is on the high ground may be Forge, which is a good spot for Forge to be in, especially with their team comp being the Watson. But my question is, with a lot of the noise also being made by Forge, there's already squads in the northern area of those train tracks that are getting a whiff of that fight.
Yeah, this is really peculiar. Game Ward, I feel like, is going on the aggression. They've pulled out of the choke and more towards the edge to take on Scars, but this is going to open it up, like you said, to the other teams in the vicinity where they're poking. Teams like Turkish Stars that were in that early engagement with Scars are going to be rotating throughout this chokehold area and the POI, so they will have to contest with them here in Skyhook. There's no reason that all three of these teams are not going to int on each other at some point.
And predicting where the circle is going to be pulling here too, Tiff, we've sometimes seen the circle pull towards the south of the open mouth cave, north of that recon building that I had mentioned that sometimes has the beacon, but this time around it doesn't. And so if it does pull in that direction, as we do see it actually pulling way more towards Survey Camp, this is going to benefit the squads that had exited out of Fragment West, have made their rotate away from Epi, and have secured a building already in Survey. So it makes me question Scars and their rotations, as they do know that there is a player right behind them, maybe another squad who actually managed to rotate. It's Turkish Stars actually who are on the back end, the only squad that are still rocking the Gibby actually in this lobby.
Yeah, just a little bit of poke fighting. Minute 42 left on the clock, so they do have a little bit of time in their favor to decide which way they want to approach it. They could go through the tunnel at the south of Skyhook and take a longer rotation, but they would have to leave now. You see Foes right there utilizing the smokes on the Bangalore to get the rotation in. Double time passive coming in absolute cut, so only able to take minimal damage, but Scars able to just get the first inklings of where these teams are pushing. And I feel like they're going to be one of the teams that if they don't start rotating now, them going out next.
Yeah, you got a minute and 10 seconds and counting right now for Scars to make their next move, but they did force Turkish Stars to rotate through that tunnel, so they already know that spot to rotate into the circle is going to be contested to the south side. We know that there's also other squads like Gaming Gladiators who lost out early on one of their teammates who made a longer rotation out. So Turkish Stars now with the approach, you see the Bangalore smokes, you see the Bloodhound scans coming in. They picked up on a player off to their right, and they're probably finding some of those footsteps. So Turkish Stars also have to make the decision. Do they make the noise before getting into the circle, or are they going to be able to try to capitalize and try to secure some KP?
It's a relatively interesting first map of the day. 17 squads still up here. Pioneers getting into a little bit of an interesting scuffle here. Nasuke already throwing up the EMP, but let's go ahead and jump into our first listening of the day with the Pioneers presented by WD Black.
I'm not hitting anything.
Yeah, me too.
Dark Q here, please.
Enemy agent right here.
Coming. I don't have it yet. I used it.
I just wasted 2 thermites in my EMP.
I used.
I'm gonna ult cell. I have a fuck.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Give one to me so I can carry it. Look at zone soon. Maxus, I have a cure. I have 2 stacks of energy when you replace your sentinel if you want.
Okay. Yeah, later. I'm gonna destroy the door. You asked me early.
They're dying here.
One dead dying.
Newcastle died.
Okay.
I see him. Arresting him. I will try to re-knock him.
Okay.
Yeah. Bad arc.
One of them knocked.
Looking for loot. Changing. Attacking here. Enemy right here. Yeah.
Still here in
enemy
this corner.
조심해. Enemy spotted far.
Ah, fuck. I'm gonna try to steal the skills. My angel's so insane, but I'm like, fuck.
We're not alone, squad. Got a bogey.
Just looking right here. No one's looking from this team. Wait, are they pushing? Flying?
Maybe.
Blue here?
In the ring,
Bogey in
they get naded hard.
Yeah. TP. Wait. TP on ourselves.
They're far. I
Oh.
see one. Yeah. Keeping my eyes on that area.
Well, a little bit of information in the hands of Pioneers.
Ooh.
And Max Strafey with the Sentinel just absolutely laying down the damage. Vicky, I'm curious to see how Pioneers is going to make their move that they have all the time in the world, just utilizing the edge of this building.
Yeah, you saw that slight trade too, with Ascend also getting a knock over onto KCP, but the issue is once these squads have already taken control over these buildings, no squad is going to give up their own respective building. They want to be able to secure those buildings, especially with the amount of Watsons that we have in this lobby, and no one wants to give up some of those spaces here to the other squads who didn't have the luxury on securing a building early on. GameWorld actually circle kept Scars earlier on in Skyhook, and they're looking to claim another squad right below them. Nice tracking here with the R301.
Yolu, the young fragger on Game War, doing everything that they need to do. I love the edge positioning. I love the ability that they are able to get this going. Turkish Stars also going to be eliminated. This is a chance where all of those teams were making their late Valk rotate, such as Foot Esports. And now as I say that, I feel like I just caster cursed them because they're going to fall to Nightmare, Vicky, which was one of the teams that you had mentioned had to prove themselves here today.
Nightmare actually securing a building themselves, and they need to get inside of that building quickly because you can see Game Board on their tails right now. They have that slight high ground, and Forge, I believe, also getting out of that choke point by the train tracks. They also have to make their next move to see where they're going to be able to rotate because it's going to be a difficult rotate for them. But the nice barrage of grenades now coming in, pressuring Game Board, losing out on Yolu.
Ro finding a nice thermite onto Yolu. They're trying to get the res back in as quickly as possible, but not able to stick it just yet. This is a very challenging portion of the zone to hold. Sure, you can kind of tuck yourselves in behind this building, but with a team coming in on the outskirts, there's at least 3. You've got Nightmare on the inside and Forge. Really challenging game ward here. The question is, can they reset? But they're going to have to fight off Forge sooner rather than later, because Fire Beavers right now in that picture-in-picture map looking to throw down and control the most space.
They have the circle advantage. Not only that, remember, we saw them rotate from the north side of the train tracks, uncontested by any squads who saw that it wasn't going to be pulling towards Climatizer. And this is the only squad, I believe, also rocking the fuse. You saw them get a knock in the finish with a knuckle cluster. Game Ward did lose out on their horizon here, but they do have a bunch of meds to work with. Playing on the outskirts of the building right now that Nightmare Esports have secured for themselves, Game Ward have to take this fight with Forge because they have little to no cover to work with.
Pioneers on your screen, Jenny up, but it looks like Forge is the one that's going to come out on top of Game Ward, and they've won high ground here. They can utilize the building that Nightmare Esports is habitating and just play the head peaks here. There's no real rush. Yes, the ring is going to come in, but you're going to have to walk it in and fight. You've got 3 Muppets and Ascend, which is going to make it a very long uphill battle to get to where Fire Beavers have the God spot. They're playing that rock on the other side of this, and honestly, this is Fire Beavers' game to win.
Yeah, unless they get griefed by another squad looking to rotate in, it'd be insane. But they also have Pride Rock to work with. Forge have taken the high ground. Jay Savage taking a nice off angle over Nightmare, who are stuck inside this building. It's going to be such a difficult rotation for them to make their way into that next circle, with the circle closing into their backs. You got 6 squads left. You see the cracks come in, and you see Fire Beavers looking at all the action. They just cannot give up this space unless they have the opportunity to waver off the other squads. 5 squads left with Pioneers going down.
No, here's the issue. Taskmaster doesn't have enough ammo in the flat line. That's the issue. When you rotate to a God spot too early, you're not getting loot throughout your mid game. So Taskmaster having to be incredibly reserved here with the flat line, and will have to double down and use that car with the light ammo for those close range battles, but able to have the missile swarm to really secure some damage and stun some teams up. But you're gonna have to be very, very picky and bide your time, like you can see them doing. And as I say that, Taskmaster just unleashes. Now only 27 bullets left, Vicky.
Yeah, it's survival to finish out here, but he's got some extra ammo from his teammates. Let's jump into a quick listen in from Fire Beavers to see what their next moves are.
Лёва, вернись!
Звук, вернись, мы сейчас все выиграем. Просто спокойно стойте. Смотри право, Лёва. Смотри право, я останусь посередине.
Давай.
Кирюха пройдет слева. Все.
Сейчас запиздится, возможно.
Да, сейчас будут пиздиться, мы просто стоим, собираем все, что нам
Я вот
надо.
эти кошмарю.
Все, заебись, чилим.
Вам нужна
Наша
моя
игра.
игра?
Начали пиздиться.
Нет, я тебе заколю все, Кирюх. А
Я
давай...
левых очень жестко ебу, пацаны,
Да,
очень
у меня-
жестко.
Правая...
У меня есть моя ульта, послушайте. Будут идти, я кину ульту, чтобы никто
Окей,
не
справа не
пришел.
выходит, справа не выходит.
Смотри право, Лёва, смотри.
Вышли, вышли. Выше справа, только.
Ульту у тебя право.
Один на ХГ. Ждем.
Я убил двойку. Закрывайте.
You can hear those intense comms coming in, Tiff. You can hear them probably trying to let each other know, just to hold back a little bit, find these other squads, capitalize right now off of the pinch positioning that they're forcing, and Fire Beavers come out on top with their God spot on top of it all. It's very obvious here that Fire Beavers had the best position that they possibly could have, with the other squads predicting a circle pull over by Cervicam.
Look, that was just an absolute textbook of a game, sharing ammo there for the end game to really allow themselves to hold Ascend out. And honestly, with the Fuse ulti, the Knuckle Clusters, Rain Day. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, because it was just impressive.
Well, it's the way Fire Beavers wanted to start, a blazing start. It's in the name itself, and they take the high ground, they keep it, and, you know, the team comms, I'm not as fluent with what I heard there, but I will say it seemed like it was intense. It seemed like the energy was good. I think that, Tiff, you might be taking a little break here, so let's bring back Vicky. We'll talk in-game, and we'll talk next game as well. Vicky, Fire Beavers kind of in a position where they needed a win, so it's great to see them start off in game 1 with that W. That's going to give them a lot of confidence moving forward, sitting just outside that top 9 that would qualify even if they don't win match point, in 11th place overall.
Yeah, this is a team that has also just gotten better and better the more we see them perform. It could be that they're getting a lot more comfortable, and this is also a squad that not only the only squad that we've been seeing rocking the fuse right now in this lobby, but you could see with their smart rotation to make sure that their circles was to their back and that they were able to make sure that no other team was going to try to contest them for that north side of the railroad tracks, where they could have predicted where the circle was going to be pulling, and even if it didn't pull in that direction, it pulled more towards the north side of Survey Camp, they still would have had the positional advantage being on the high ground.
Well, Fire Beavers, they take the W. We'll get some highlights and conversation on that as we get ready for the stats of how it all turned out, because that's a good start for them. But who else caught your eye throughout the day? Because, you know, we started off, sometimes these teams, they start a little slower. Vicky, was anyone kind of catching the same pace you expected, or maybe somebody fell behind from how you might have thought they would start strongly?
A squad that I definitely have talked about before, and I gotta highlight them again because it's another squad that's on the cusp right next to Fire Beavers, is Nightmare. They did secure that building very early on, but when the circle pulled away from them, you saw the likes of Forge out here actually pressuring them out when they were funneled outside of that building. Aurora with the quick rotation too, they were able to also rotate from the bridge side, try to get right through Epicenter, but a lot of other teams basically had that same plan and rotation, so they were caught in a lot of the chaos for the squads that were rotating outside of Fragment.
Game Ward, a team I mentioned needed to have some points here, and you can tell the early engagements coming in from our highlights. People were fighting. Forge already with 3 KP there. Would continue on. Gaming Gladiators would drop it around 16th, the team that has not performed to their best, and we'll see if they can continue off of maybe some of the confidence they gained from several tournaments they were able to play yesterday. Nightmare Esports, similar spot though, Vicky, have to get some results here, and it would be Foot Esports who go into this 3v3 kind of create a lot of chaos and maybe some openings here for Fire Beavers to just be in that spot. Outside of this engagement, Ascend, they pick up kills, but of course Fire Beavers were in the best position at the end of the game, and they didn't let anyone else try to get there.
I'm glad that you highlight Ascend because this is another squad that also likes to take final circle positioning, but they took control over the inside of that building. I believe they finished in 3rd, and here we have the results. Fire Beavers finished the first game not only with a dub, with 16 KP to their name. I saw that kill feed light up with the knuckle cluster. We talked about it a little bit, Tiff and I, in the game, but to see them finish with 16 is a great way to bridge that gap between themselves and the rest of this lobby.
That is unbelievable. Forge also popping off with a really good game. They're sitting just behind Game Ward and Fire Beavers with 43 points. Fire Beavers with 50. And just to let you know, qualification starts at 52. So a big win here. If Fire Beavers keep this up, they're going to be looking strong. Pioneers, Game Ward also having some moments. Let's take a look at the second page. Teams you wouldn't expect Aurora to be on that one. But hey, they play these atypical lineups, Vicky. So sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But Esports, though, still getting 5 points after only 1 placement point because of the 4 kills.
Yeah, and then the Gaming Gladiators obviously didn't have the best start to their game. I believe it was actually Reply Totem that ended up in one spot higher than them, where they lost out on, I believe it was one of their teammates, I believe it was the Horizon, very early on in that fight. So they were basically forced to play on the outskirts of the circle from the very beginning. Aurora, actually, like we talked about before, also got caught in the middle of their rotation with a lot of the squads already congesting the northern side of Epicenter.
Big moments. Phoenix Legacy, V2, teams that are in the back. Phoenix Legacy in relegation series. They played very well yesterday. I got a chance to see them, but they will not change the results. This is almost exactly where they are in terms of the totality of the Pro League. 29th out of 30 spot. They're 20th here. We'll see if they can show up. Fire Beavers, though, in a strong start with Game Ward and several of the other teams that we have spoken about. This is a great way to get it going. And, you know, we are getting ready to take a quick break in just a moment. Game 2 will be coming up, and that will give us an answer. Will Fire Beavers keep up the energy and momentum? Will Phoenix Legacy pop off and have the moment to rise from the ashes? And who else will catch our eye? We'll find out in Game 2 coming up in just a bit.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with the ALGS in day number 8 for year 3, split 1. How many of those can I say? All of them. That's right. I know what I'm talking about. And you know who else knows what they're talking about? Vicky Kitty. Let's bring her back in because it's time for game number 2 very shortly. Vicky, game 1, it was hot. And Fire Beavers in their element with a 16-kill game. They are at the top of the leaderboards now with 28 points thanks to the 12 they added from the first place. You couldn't have asked for a better start to the beginning of the day.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how hard they farmed in holding that north side of that circle. And you talk about how on fire they were, literally with the mortar flames from the fuse, the knuckle clusters coming out, cleaning up 16 kills in that first game. Also allows you to carry some of that momentum into game number 2. But that's what we have eyes on right now. Can Fire Beavers keep that up going into the second game?
That's always the question. But what you do when you have a situation like this and your Fire Beavers, a big 28 points. I mean, most teams in the bottom half of the 20 that play in any given lobby on any given Sunday in the ALGS don't even make it past 30 points. So Fire Beavers in one game have 28. They have set themselves up for at least a decent performance today. Can they win? Can they surprise everyone, push themselves into qualification for LAN? They're only 2 points out and they've got a game in hand. I think this is Fire Beavers with a chance to perform. And Vicky, we'll get a chance to see that as game 2 begins. Our teams start to fly out here, and who will make a move? Fire Beavers stealing the show in game 1. But a team I like to talk about, Game Ward and Phoenix Legacy sharing Skyhook. What do you see going on over here as the teams drop?
We saw that Game Ward were able to circle keep Scars. It was a great rotation from Game Ward, but they didn't rotate fast enough. Unfortunately for Phoenix Legacy, they rotated maybe just a little too early. We saw them be the first squad to go down, as we also see the next circle that we're going to be having on our hands. And it's going to be a southern circle. And I love this because I was talking about it with Tiff. We saw too many climatizer end circles in that first week of the ALGS. We didn't see it this time around. It pulled a little bit over to the west side of survey camp. But now seeing a southern circle is going to actually benefit the likes of a send out, actually, that land and staging. Didn't see a beacon actually over to the left side by the choke point, north side of thermal station. So they don't have the next circle information, but that's probably going to be their next plan.
One of the interesting things about that, when you're looking at that map, you know if you play Apex, but you may not think about it. And Vicky just so eloquently mentioned the impact of having a beacon. You can see them on the screen, and they will indicate whether a team is going to have that information, that early information of where the next circle is going to be. So that'll give them a very clear awareness of not only where the proximity is of generally, but maybe where it's going to pull and ultimately end up. And teams who have that information, you know, they may be a little bit more advantaged in these moments when even if you're right where it's going to be, you don't have that info, well, you might be in trouble. But the good thing for Ascend, they don't have to move from staging in order to get the info. In fact, because Kashira plays that crypto, it's one of the benefits we don't talk too much about, just the ability to kind of stay with your team and get away from your team, double task with banners and with beacons. That character brings so much utility for them.
Yeah, I could talk about recon characters for ages. Honestly, for the whole broadcast and the importance of that too, because I love how you brought up Kashira being on the crypto, because that's also the only other recon character that can scan the beacons without overextending and putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. As we tune into 3 Muppets on the south side, picking up a nice gold extended energy mag, and Fire Beavers already looking for chaos. I don't know what they ate this morning, Rain Day, but you already see they're able to get 1 knock onto Ember.
Oh, they are absolutely ready to go. If you get a 28-point game with 16 kills, I don't think there's anybody in the lobby that you would be worried about. I mean, you basically killed 20% or 30% of the entire lobby yourself. And they're going to continue to do it. OJ Rain, Impulse, 9 Impulse, and Taskmaster on task with the weapon we highlighted. Thanks to WD Black. What's in your pack? OJ Rain says, that flatline, that sounded pretty good. I'm going to keep that one up as Fire Beavers look to add to the tally and grab another KP here early on. No one seems to be stopping them, Vicky.
However, is running right now. Why are you running? His Fire Beavers are going to just be able to scoop up any sort of loot that they can from that box. I love how you highlighted our flatline and what's in your pack. And it's also nice to note here, too, with that 2-time scope, you're able to melt down Ember as they were trying to run away. They got Young Hong Kong up, but he doesn't even have the opportunity to heal just yet. Drops the medkit real quick as Ember is desperately trying to rotate away. But as they rotate towards towards staging. Again, we made mention of the likes of Ascent, who actually usually lands there. A lot of squads have already quickly rotated outside of the staging area, so Ember could have at least some breathing room. And with no beacon in staging or in that choke point from thermal station, they don't have to really worry about any other squads that are congesting those rotations points.
Yeah, clearly a pull towards thermal. The information seems to have been given. You can tell by just the coagulation, the congestion of all of the teams concentrating around that southwestern side. They are going to try to find that best position very, very quickly. Teams at Tree, 3 Muppets, they're southeast of where most of the teams are gathering, and they have a chance to play in front of them, which is always a benefit when you can clear out your back and make sure that you have all your enemies in front. Kumbra still needs a little bit more than a white shield, though, and so Plum and Strongest will move forward carefully as 3 Muppets, whether they've scanned the beacon or not, will have a chance to do so in this next round and get even more information about where the circle will eventually end.
Spying here.
Talking a little bit about 3 Muppets, our Norwegian squad that's actually on the cusp of getting put into the relegations right now. So this is another team that needs to perform, and they have a lot of equipment to work with that too, especially cleaning up some KP in the second game. Also looking at KCP, we highlighted Crypto and the importance of Crypto. You get that information from the other squads that have already taken control over the inside of some of these buildings, and we've seen the circle actually pull towards the south side of thermal station. So with KCP also trying to be a step ahead, they're also trying to clear up enough space for themselves to prevent any other squads from trying to take control over the other buildings to their side.
Last time Groups A versus C met up, it was Ascend who topped the group with over 100 points, 102 to be exact. About 40 points behind that, or 36 rather, was KCP. Then we had Vision and we had Horizon Heroes, excuse me, and Foot Esports round out the top 5. 6 and 7 went to Fire Beavers though, and Aurora. Fire Beavers wanting to change that Ascend, not yet having that pop-off game, though they were in top 3. And Aurora having one of their quieter days. As, of course, this is the team who is got a game in hand, and they are 3rd place overall in the standings, only behind Vex and Ascend. That is how well they have played. One match day won, one match day in 3rd place, and consistent top 6, 7 finishes in their other 2 games.
Scars can't say the same as they get eliminated in 19th right now for this game number 2. I'm glad you highlighted Aurora because they finished in 11th after that first game, and they're in a pretty difficult situation here. For a lot of the squads that are stuck in the middle in thermal, that are forced to traverse through the lava area where a lot of other squads are going to be having you in their sights on the high ground, you already see that they used up the portal. That could have been a great rotation advantage that Arranges could have used, but it looks like they used that portal to get out of a situation that they wanted to avoid. Now the EMP coming in, you see the gas traps not eliminated entirely. They activated one of them before the EMP got unleashed, so that way they can hide behind some cover, just reset a little bit with those shield cells. And Ranch is also looking at some of the action happening to the north side of thermal station before they plan where they're going to rotate if they want to go to the southern buildings. They don't have that information though, since they don't have a recon character, and they have to stay out of the line of sight of Startify Esports.
As Aurora looked to deal with the problems from up on high, Startify Esports look to see how they can impact the game and get themselves into a favorable position in this lobby. They are at the precipice of being able to move forward outside of course, our top 20 by just 3 points. They're in relegation. To start a fight, playing the Ash, playing the Fuse, experimenting with their legend lineup just a little bit, as I'm fine to see teams do. I think you should play what works for your squad. I don't think the meta is as important as finding the roles that you play and the character styles fitting for you as players. They need desperately, though, to get a result here. They cannot have a blank. They cannot get last. And if they do, I think they'll be pretty clear to move on into the next season of Pro League. Probably a lot to ask to get to land. But when you don't have a good start to the season, Vicky, just having a chance to go back in the split 2 and do it again and make some adjustments, that is very, very valuable for teams like Startify.
Yeah, and VZN too, of course. They had a very slow start to the season, but they've been able to ramp up very similarly to Fire Beavers, except they had a lot stronger of a start, so it was easy for them to build up a foundation in terms of just trying to qualify for LAN if they have a pop-off day. But I like how you highlight how some of these squads, even if they have their individual pop-off days, their goal is to at least stay in the Pro League right now. They don't want to be on the cusp like Three Muppets, where they could be forced to play out in the relegations to qualify for Split 2. So with Foot Esports also calling out where the circle is going to be pulling, exactly where you see those Watson fences painting the south side of Thermal Station is where we've seen the circle end up before. But man, would it be ashamed if an EMP just deleted all those fences before their eyes.
It's one of those things where you do have a really decent spot that is hard to contest. People kind of have to aggro push you in a way where they give up any chance of retreat. They got to cross open distance, but you've seen skyward dives, at least I have, that get aggressive, that there's nowhere else to land, and they end up saying, I'm willing to take this 3v3. We just got to clear you out, and now we have a great spot. And so electing to hold that early on, Foot Esports throwing in a little bit of a wrench in terms of playing this without allowing teams to have an impact on them. They are going to be in a favorable spot that a lot of teams will try to poke away, and hopefully they have enough resources to be able to withstand that and any aggressive pushes that might happen. Aurora, though, they seem very content. Vicky, they're sitting here with Maliwan on the Caustic and Aurora Cleave doing a good job on that Mad Maggie with the riot drill, just pressuring Start a Fight, who are sitting on that tower above them. And that's one of the benefits of this character, simultaneously having some defensive options and utility, but being able to be aggressive on those teams that just like to sit there and farm damage.
Yeah, especially if you're still using a blue evil shield right now. He literally one shot away from getting that purple. A Start a Fight still are looking at them, keeping them in their sights. But looking at one of the members of Start a Fight here, the weapon loadout between the car and PK means that they don't really have that medium to long range pressure that they want to work with. We did see a 30-30 repeater in the hands of one of those members as Phoenix Legacy still in this lobby. You can see 17 squads left as after their lackluster performance in that game, number one, they're looking to take a slower approach. They have the beacon, so they know where the circle is going to be pulling, but they're trying to contest the other later rotating squads that are going to be rotating from the outskirts of this circle. Looking at Fire Beavers, actually, who have taken their time. Heroes, who are down a member. Gameward as well, rotating through staging. If we could get that mini-map pulled up, because you can see Fire Beavers on this side. Note that they're getting shot at by the likes of Phoenix Legacy that have that 30-30 in their hands. So they saw the shots, they see the fences out in front of them, but where is this rotation approach from Fire Beavers when they don't have the same intel that Phoenix Legacy have with the next circle?
That's right, Phoenix Legacy knowing that they're actually going to be in a decent spot here. We don't have it on our mini-map, but in terms of them, they know it's just around the bend, and this house will actually end up pulling a little south of them. So Phoenix Legacy maybe getting a little too close and comfy before realizing what they had to do. They're going to have to move now. They will get that drone to scout out who is in front of them as Fire Beavers make a wide rotation. Will maybe run into V2. Oh, and they certainly will. This is a fight here. Fire Beavers are winners of game one. Impulse up onto the gravity lift, and that's the fuse. Raining down damage. The Arc Star hits as well, and that is going to be a knuckle cluster that at least buys them a little bit of time. I think OJ Rain spots out the player who's hiding behind the rock, Vicky, and now just trying to finish off with a hip fire of the flat line. They'll get one, but OJ Rain and Fire Beavers have lost Impulse. He's got to clutch up, and Fire Beavers go down. Joke talks to him, and V2 get their first 2 kills of the day, and it's on our #1 squad.
They lose out on Nuba's side here, and the third party is now rolled up, but you know Joke is saying, I'm just better. Fire Beavers out of this lobby, and Gameward looking to get involved right now, too. The Beast of the Hunt has been activated, so has the scans out here, and they're looking to chase down the last stragglers of V2.
What a moment for Gameward to take advantage of it. Fire Beavers go out, but in good fashion for GW, because that's what they need. They've got to make some distance on the leaders, and this is how you do it. Psychop from range with the Bangalore. Smokes possibly being able to use to cover his tracks. Slow down this fight. We'll head over to Pioneers as well, as Gameward still in that skirmish. KCP looks like they may be in trouble. Strafey having to pull off something spectacular in order to save Nasty and Dell, who is already down. The Watson out of this fight as the exhibit goes through. And that is gonna hit. The nade was there. What does that do in terms of an opportunity for Nasty? He brandishes the Baiwan blade. Do not tell me that might have been the best alley-oop we have seen in Apex Legends. Maskey gonna try to make something happen here, and he's holding this corner really well with the Mastiff. He hits 33, Vicky. May not be enough though here.
Can he pull it off? That was such a huge heat grenade all the way to the top by Max Strafey, and that always lands on your feet if you could pull that off. But if Nasty can clutch this after getting that shield off, this would be absolutely huge. He can't. A nice side angle to clean things up, and Pioneers get cleaned up. Reply Totem come out on top, and now they have to try to restabilize the line of sight of a Rampart right behind that barrier that has that 30-30 in their hands.
Very, very good from Reply Totem to survive that fight. And throughout the entirety of it, you could see KCP trying to just make something out of nothing. It was almost over before it began, but that grenade, it really was stunning. Some of the moments you can have in Apex Legends with the intricacies of the interactions, the grenade up and down, the timing on that one, it was a beautiful sight to see. Too bad it didn't work out for them, and they will wish they had that one again. Game Ward ended up winning their fight, pushing onto the team that was able to take down Fire Beavers, and Aimbot's still in a great position here on the Bloodhound, ultimate beast of the hunt, ready to be activated, and they feel content. They're on the high ground and they're at the edge of the zone, so they could stay here, Vicky, for another round, as round 4 is about to close in. 1 minute and 28 seconds before a lot of teams have to get squeezed into this.
Yeah, Reply Totem also just get eliminated after that fight that we just saw against KCP. B2 gonna meet them right back in the lobby with 13 squads left, slowing things down just a little bit here, Rain Day. You see Phoenix Legacy managing to make their rotation into this choke point. Again, patience is key for this squad because they knew exactly where the circle was gonna be pulling, and it caught a lot of squads that were expecting it to go way more south of Thermal Station off guard. So this is gonna benefit looking at where the circle is gonna be pulling. The likes of Start of Fight, Aurora. Let's jump real quick into a listen-in with Phoenix Legacy to see how they're gonna waver off this squad that's right in front of them.
Yes. From the rock, but yeah, this one still looking. We're probably gonna have to force a Valko here.
Kraber here. I mean, we could maybe force this, because they're all sitting on...
We're gonna get Rinse on the walk up though.
Yeah, I don't think there's anywhere we can land. Hey.
That'd be cool.
One shot.
Yep.
Only good damage now.
2 seconds of round to go. Yeah.
Go here and look.
I'm starting it now.
Insta go. We can maybe play those stairs under there, but I'm not sure if we're gonna get...
People there. Wait, there's only one.
Yeah, come into it. The play's done for us.
Where's the boxes?
Over here, play not.
Yeah.
I'm talking now, white to the right. Right, that.
Okay, fight. Behind is coming closer.
No way, yeah,
Yeah, who's creeping? Well, it was an uphill battle and a downhill problem. Phoenix Legacy not able to rise from the ashes there. In fact, it was Aurora who was doing most of the griefing, and they will take an 8th place position. But tough spot for them, Vicky. Tough spot for Foot Esports too, who have it all fenced up, but they're under a little bit of pressure.
Korea's got the RE45 of the Rampage, though. At least they're out of the line of sight from Start a Fight, who is the other squad rocking the fuse. You saw that Mortar Flame coming in and the Mad Maggie Tactical. I mean, talk about getting briefed when you're stuck between 2 squads, but there was basically nowhere for Phoenix Legacy to land after that Skyward dive, unless they wanted to try to fight for that high ground, but they didn't want to risk it with the circle closing it right behind them. But Esports, though, talking about also the blue Evo shields that they're working off of. Yeah, they got the great weapon loadout, but they gotta try to see if they can secure some of these better Evo shields.
Well, look at that. Just as you said, Taylor goes into the zone, finds a death box, and gets a gold shield over the blue. Not only that, but the benefits of using those shield cells now as big meds start to get depleted with the interactions they're facing. 27 seconds before Zone 5 starts to close in. And Foot Esports knows they have an opportunity here. With a Kraber in their hand, this is a winnable game. They can play in front of everyone. Tower to the right. occupied by Ember and Startified Esports. Aurora on that low ground where they have been holding with the Caustic as well as the Mad Maggie, but up on top, still where Game Ward had held on that northern side, on that ledge, there's still only one member of Heroes and all of Game Ward who might be able to push in, and we had highlighted them earlier today, Vicky. That and Ascend are the only other teams who are in this lobby as full three. So we'll see what Foot Esports can do as they start their onslaught and push towards here as Zone 5 begins to move in.
In the line of sight of Game Ward here, though, too, you have to worry about that G7. Put Esports in some trouble, losing out and not, but they're going to be able to move into that next circle with the circle closing in right behind their backs. See them desperately now trying to clear up some space, but with other squads looking at them, there's 5 squads left in this lobby after Heroes gets eliminated.
Tough decision from Kuya. He goes for the grenade thinking someone might be there, and he has to move forward, takes the damage from his own grenade. Ascend up on top. Look at how easy this is. We talk about Ascend and why they are so good. It's because they put themselves in the best positions to win. But don't forget about the other team that has been in a great position the entire time. Aurora underneath Ascend now, and Game Ward up on top where you can see Lufka training and aiming his sights up above with the G7 Scout and the charge rifle. Ascend in their second place position again, find themselves having a chance to win it, but there's a lot to go up against. And Aurora not in the best position, but it looks like Game Ward and Ascend are just going to go at it. This might leave an opportunity for Aurora to come in late.
Aurora, I don't even think has an opportunity to even get on the high ground. They just have to play for second at this point, with Game Ward now having to try to face off against Ascend, and Aurora nowhere in sight because they don't have a Skyward Dive, they don't have a Horizon Q. Now Game Ward are going to be able to try to move into the side, with Aurora unfortunately stuck on the low ground right now, and they lose out on Yolu. And now with just 2 members left from Game Ward, you can see them trying to skirmish the fence line.
Look at this, aimbot stays true to the name. Game Ward takes another Ascend, top of EMEA. But will Game Ward come out on top here in this fight? It certainly looks like it. Aimbot has already taken down one and takes down another with the car from that distance. My goodness, Game Ward. What a moment, what a performance from them as Aurora wait for the demise that seems to be slowly creeping their way.
How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes. There's no way for them to get away. Game Ward could just hail down all the damage on them, noting that there is nowhere else that Aurora could be. It's a matter of just the Bloodhound getting the scan, figuring out they're right below us, and then them cleaning up that KP for them to secure this W. But that last fight, we got to talk about that real quick. That was insane right now between Aurora to get that win against Ascend. You can see the portal coming up from Ranches, but nowhere to climb out here too, with the rest of Game Ward right on top.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to fully finish off Game Ward, and so what you have to do, even if you get one, is you're going to have to wait for that last one, who will be able to take the portal, will be able to buy a little bit of time, and it may be unfriendly. The circle is pulling, but what is going to happen in terms of that zone? You just want to hope, if you're Game Ward, and I think they should be okay, that the area that is safe up above outside of the lava does not close in earlier than down below. The Caustic ultimate just going to annoy Psychop. It's not really going to do anything. What an interesting final circle. It's all but assured that Game Ward will win unless Aurora can pull off a magisterial moment. Let's see what Ranches tries to do. Well, they tried.
It's just a matter of time, especially since the circle wasn't in their favor too. Game Ward do want that KP though. See Aimbot dropping down, saying secure what I can out here, and they finish the final game at game number 2 here, going in favor for Game Ward with a great amount of KP. I believe we saw at the very end there.
What an interesting dynamic, Vicky, because, you know, Aurora found themselves on the low ground every single aspect of that game, and as we bring back Spider Tiff to comment on it, it was truly a circle that meant second place. That's better than third place, but we definitely can't get first. Aurora, though, will be happy, I think, with the points that they secured after that one, Tiff.
Yeah, it was really interesting to watch, and I was behind the scenes kind of spectating that entire map unfold, and the moment I see Fire Beavers go down to Game Ward, I was like, they better win this, bro, because I was on the Fire Beavers bandwagon, and from that moment forward, they were able to just carry on that success. So congrats to Game Ward for lasting in that interesting zone there.
Yeah, I mean, Vicky, it was Game Ward who kind of fought their way through. Aurora was there and they held, but Game Ward had to go through a lot of tests, a lot of team fights to get to where they were ultimately up on top.
Yeah, again, we talk about Aurora's game plan and their composition, and this is the downside of not having a mobile character to work with. I mean, you have the Wraith Portal, but you don't have the Horizon Gravity Lift. You don't have the Skyward Dive from the Valkyrie like we see with other teams. And unfortunately, in that situation, when you're forced to play off the low ground because they were stuck in Thermal Station, if you guys could recall, Start a Fight was pressuring them and pinching them on one of the south sides of Thermal Station. They had nowhere to go other than take a zip line maybe to the high ground, which was already painted by the Watson fences of Ascent, who came in 3rd place. But we take 2nd. Aurora, out here satisfied with the fact that they could take 2nd with some KP to their name. But Game Ward also winning the north side of that circle was fantastic, finishing off with 10 KP, I believe.
Yeah, and sometimes you just cannot set up for every single scenario. Your team doesn't include a Horizon, it doesn't include a Valkyrie, and that's okay. You've gone for something that got a 2nd place, but because of the RNG of the nature of a battle royale, you can't guarantee that it's always going to work out for you, Tiff. Still, Fire Beavers, after such a great start, they do drop to that fight with Game Ward, KCP in the mix as well. A lot of teams decided we're going to go and get into this zone, and we're just going to stay here.
Yeah, it's kind of different compared to map 1, right? We were looking at Survey Camp and Epicenter, and not a lot of teams were already over there. I believe 2 had already set up in Survey Camp, and you come into map number 2, all of the teams making their way over to Thermal Station, and that could be because I feel like Thermal Station is one of those incredibly challenging endgame zones, and you can just see the trials and tribulations that Fire Beavers themselves had to go through, fight their way, and until they met Game Ward. They took them down, and honestly, I thought Fire Beavers was going to come out on top. The Mother Load went out, the Knuckle Clusters were doing so much damage, so props to Game Ward for coming out on top of that. And Bitfix Gaming, Vicky, I heard you say Rampart. They're like, there is a Rampart on the horizon, and I'm over here like Bitfix Gaming, ready to run it back. But it was Ascend's game to lose. They held that God spot, so rather interesting that Game Ward kind of unseated them from it.
Yeah, honestly, also highlights how Game Ward were able to come out from not only claiming the high ground right there, but they were also winning a lot of pressuring fights against Ascend, who were on the low ground right here too. They were able to reset, and it was nice to see that skirmish between Ascend and Game Ward, because with that 1 extra KP that they also secured onto Aurora on the low ground, I do think that should allow them to be right on top of Fire Beavers after their insane performance in Game 1, where they got 16 kills.
Look at this, just 26 points already. We don't know exactly how much they're going to have overall. It should be, I would say, somewhere near 30, 31. I think that will put them in first. If you can see with our graphic, it is updated, but a 22-point game. Fire Beavers not on this top 10, and it's the consistency that will probably allow Game Ward to sneak up into first place. Aurora, though, a strong 2nd place finish, 4 kills, 13 total points. And Ascend round out our top 3 with Foot Esports and Ember and Tiff. Foot Esports showing up like you had asked for them to do. It seems like they have heard the call and are answering.
It was well needed. We know in map 1 they had a Skyward Dive kind of go wrong as they made their way into Survey Camp, but I was sitting behind the scenes begging for them to take that Skyward Dive to hopefully go on the north side of Ascend, and instead they walked it in, and it was just a horrific moment as they went through the onslaught. But being able to get 10 points, they came into this match at 8th, so I'm excited to see what those 10 points did for them. But Forge, Startify Esports, and even Hero is making a play for the top 10.
Amazing Startify. 8 kills on that as we head to the second page of this one, Vicky. Some teams not performing, and one of the biggest stories for me is 0 from Gaming Gladiators. People aren't aware. I mean, they are sitting in 21st place right now. They are only 2 points outside of relegation. We're looking at a world where Hardeki, Leogri, and Sunset could actually be in a fight to just stay in Pro League heading into our next day. And so have to see some results here from them, but good things on the other side of Phoenix Legacy and Reply Totem and Pioneers consistently getting points and being involved here in these games.
Yeah, also surprised to see Nightmare actually on the bottom end of those overall standings for game number 2 right there, as we take a look at how this has actually fixed things up for us in day 8 for this EMEA region. It is true, Game Ward actually are on top of Fire Beavers with that 1 extra point after not only taking the dub, but cleaning up what was left of Aurora on the low ground here. So that gap, not as big as we were expecting after that insane KP game that Fire Beavers won with.
You know, I love Ascend and the way that they were able to play that final circle. In fact, we have a chance to take a look at it. To me, when I look at Ascend's style of Apex Legends, they get themselves in a great position and they allow their fights to be easier than most other players. They're great players. They're high execution players. I wouldn't call any of them kind of you know, mechanical gods, I would say that they're very solid. They're very good. They don't necessarily shine because they're just so good at hitting headshots. They shine because they're a complete package. But I want to look at that final circle, and you guys walk me through. I'll start with you, Tiff. How Ascend kind of lose this one to Game Ward when it seems like they've got a great setup?
Yeah, it was kind of rather interesting. Ascend kind of buckled down near that kind of crate on the other side. It was just an onslaught, even with Yolu being down. We're in a 2v3 situation, utilizing those bang smokes to try and get some cover. You have the Digi-Thread available to you, and you're just jumping up and peeking through so many different angles, and I think it just kind of bamboozled Ascend at this point. You don't know where you're going to pop up from next, but then it was Aimbot, who you said living up to the name, having to lay it down on the line from a distance, just coming in. It was impeccable.
And it was really amazing, Vicky, too, when you saw they did lose a player, and both Aimbot and I think it was Psycop won their 1v1s.
Yeah, Aimbot also with the strafe real quick with the R301 using the hip fire, getting that knock, allowed Aimbot to also reset on the other side of the fence line from where Kashira was to then pop that shield bat, which allowed Aimbot to have already a health advantage over Kashira. So that was a really good play from Game Ward in general for them to not only take the dub, but to take that team fight versus Ascend, who once again also are looking as consistent as they possibly can be, because this is the second game that we have right now here done in EMEA, and this is also the second game that Ascend get third place in.
Aurora trying some shenanigans here. I mean, I like that they went for it, Tiff. I'm not sure that there was any way they were going out, but I like a team that tries.
Yeah, it's tough. You mentioned the drill moments going up, the Mad Maggie, but there was literally nothing they could do. Caustic gas trying to get thrown up onto that high ground, but with no, you mentioned it, Vicky, no grav lift on a horizon, no skyward dive, just they're kind of stuck playing for second at that point, and they were able to get some good points out of this. Granted, I mean, they're already solidifying themselves a spot in the top 9, but look at this beautiful little shot that our observers got right here, just nestling in with the ring at their back. Tough situation.
Oh God, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought this would work. It looked like they may have had an attempt there, and I appreciate it, but yeah, ain't gonna happen. Vicky, we know Game Ward took the game and in good fashion and in strong fashion, very convincing fashion. I love Game Ward and what they're doing, answering the call, Foot Esports answering the call, Phoenix Legacy getting involved, not quite saying they answer the call, but having seen them compete yesterday, they won some games. They were in a very good position. I think this is going to be very, very exciting. Well, of course, it doesn't mean that the game is over or the day is over. We're nearly halfway over, though. Our final game on World's Edge. We've seen Game Ward dominate. We've seen Aurora stay consistent. We've seen Ascend get close, but no cigar. We'll find out if we have a new winner this time around, if we'll have a repeat with one of the teams that have already shown they are here to play today. And in order to take you through it, let's go over to Vicky Kitty and Spider Tip.
Thank you so much, Rain Day. After taking that W, though, from Game Ward, I also want to highlight here, Tiff, their rotation since they landed Skyhook to share some of that loot with Phoenix Legacy had a bit of some land to cross, honestly, to get all the way towards Thermal Station. So for them to fight and take their time to get through staging, to contest Phoenix Legacy, to make sure that they can hold it down on the north side against Fire Beavers was a very nice rotation for Game Ward to take that second game.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we had called it in map number 1 when Fire Beavers landing in Frag West. They had the upper hand on the rotation, so teams like Bitfix Gaming that already land in Thermal should have a sense found a lot more success there. But you can see on the map, we've got more of that central World's Edge for our last map on World's Edge, but looks like a little bit of a 50-50 down in Lava City with Foot Esports and Heroes, maybe some early KP for them. But let's go ahead and jump on board with your winners of map number 2 over at Trials, looking to unlock some great loot for them.
Yeah, Game Ward looking away to try to take another dub out here. Fire Beavers trying to regain themselves after having an insane first game too, but it's Game Ward who are going to have the great loot from Trials as well as some of the loot from Skyhook over on the west side. I like how you highlighted the circle here too, because if you take a look at the overhead map and the beacons that are provided for the squads that are going to be making the rotation into this next circle, landslide could easily get contested by the squads exiting out of countdown, the squads exiting out of harvester staging, looking at ascent, who've consistently gotten third place like I highlighted before, so they'll be able to get that information very quickly, because this circle could be pulling towards the outskirts of Fragment West. That construction building site could also get contested by the squads that want to overlook any of the squads that are rotating from the south side of Harvester.
Well, Vicky, if that is the case, then Fire Beavers may go back and win once again like they did in map number 1, but it's Ascend that I'm looking for to begin that aggressive rotation, because they are so quick with that. But okay, Ember, we see you, Young Hong Kong, making Pioneers really falter. This is the second time I think we've seen a member of Pioneers fall to a 30-30 repeater.
The 30 makes you cry, are taking a lot of damage themselves. So nice cover fire, forcing Ember to actually stay inside this building and not capitalize off of that knock. Very quick res as well from KCP, not wasting any time and holding that door, because sometimes at 30-30, when you do take some shots on the door, it could actually open things up here. So they made sure to block the door, even if Ember wasn't going to try to contest to prevent that other shot from the 30-30 opening things up.
Pioneers making their way. We've seen a lot of fun things from that IGL Nasky. He put a team together of some of EMEA's best and dropped down into ESA, which is kind of a North American tournament that we have fun. I believe it was Nasky, Tyler from Vexed Gaming, and for some, I think Kay Swinney from E6, and they actually won the tournament, Vicky. And let me just tell you, I fully expected Pioneers to come in on another level based on the momentum and the vibes that he had from that experience. So we'll see what Pioneers do if they make it a split one playoffs. But Fire Beavers, I had said they would maybe find some success benefiting from the zone, but Impulse and Taskmaster both down already.
Oh, this is such a rough start to this third game right now. The last game that we're going to have on World's Edge where Fire Beavers were looking to continue on their domination after their performance in game number 1. You can see the Seer all out here too, so it's Forge actually that are making the rotation into this fight. There's another squad that has the high ground here, so it prevents Forge from trying to find that straggler left from Fire Beavers, but it's great news for Fire Beavers if they want to go for a quick reset as the EMP comes out.
Forge coming into the day, middle of the pack in 13th place, not quite in the top 9, but feeling rather secure that they will make it to the regional finals. And unfortunately, you can see Zane is going to put the finishing blow into your map 1 winners, Fire Beavers, going out. Will they have better luck on Storm Point once we move over? Hopefully, but any charge rifle enjoyers in chat, because looks like Zane is utilizing that 3x on 1 and playing the cliffs on the outside of Epicenter to find some good shots on all the teams rotating in.
No, like, I'm really glad that you highlight the charge rifle. Even though we see the 3x scope, one of my favorite sites personally here that Zane's rocking right now, you can see the beamage coming in onto the streaming building that a lot of players know and love. But it's also nice to highlight what's in the replicator right now, which is actually the purple sniper scope, the 4x8, that can actually help benefit a lot of the charge rifle enjoyers for today on their day of Apex and also in the ALGS today, as we tune into another squad that has been struggling a lot today. It's Aiming Gladiators, who are literally fighting for their lives to stay in the Pro League.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they find a lot of success in scrims throughout the midweek, but haven't been able to translate it into ALGS thus far. You can see the black hole going out by Hardeki, coupled with a plethora of Arc Stars and Beast of the Hunt engaged. So this could be a time where GG finds some early KP, and as soon as I say that, Sunset taking significant damage, forced to fall as well. Leogree kind of doubling back to try and cover to make sure they're not getting thirsted, but it's Scars that needs to find the success as well. So 2 teams desperately needing the eliminations here, and it looks like Scars has got the upper hand.
Hierarcha really likes the L-Star. It's the second time we get to see Hierarcha rocking that. But Scars are also going to be able to try to capitalize off of this. With 3 Muppets also going down, meaning up the squads in the lobby, 18 squads left here. And in the safety of this building, Scars don't really have to worry about the third party actually capitalizing off of them. I believe it's Reply Totem that make that rotation outside of Big Mod, outside of Lava City, and they're looking to clean things up, and they finish off Aiming Gladiators. Another rough game for this squad that is looking to stay in the Pro League.
Yeah, and it's going to actually be Reply Totem coming in from the south side of Geyser, looking to find some action as well. Nothing like a third party, and now Scars relatively healthy still, fending off them, but that L-Star from a distance is not what you really want it to be.
It can be difficult, especially when you're playing on the outside of the circle too, with the meatball sandwich that it looks like the L-Star just shoots out real quick. It can be difficult to try to land some of those shots here too, but Hierarchal obviously has that experience with the L-Star like we've seen before, and now they also have control over the replicator for any additional meds that they need to use. You can see Taishin's only got 2 of those syringes. They're trying to craft even more, but in the line of sight of Reply Totem, who have circle advantage on the high ground, it's going to be difficult. They're also making a lot of noise, so you can imagine the squads that are already in the Fragment East area where there's a beacon are probably getting whiffed with this fight going down.
I'm actually really surprised that Reply Totem's going to prioritize their rotation over gatekeeping Scars here. And I think it's respectable, right? You know that zone is pulling straight up, similar to what we saw in map number 1. So getting your building secured and controlling space in that end game we saw led to that victory. So I think that's a really strong movement by them. Now Scar is able to craft freely, begin their rotation relatively uncontested, and you can see they're probably going to double down and take a longer rotation because they're not even sure if Reply Totem fully left.
That's so true here too. So Scar is actually just trying to call it safe, rotating on the south side of Geyser through the north side of Lava Siphon, where a lot of other squads, you do take their time thinking about Aurora, Game Ward outside of Skyhook, like to play on the edge of this circle. So with so many teams already taking some of these buildings in Fragment West, you can expect things to get very hot for the squads that don't have that same security with their Watson compensations.
Beast of the Hunt activated. Game Ward looking to go down and get some more elimination. Scan out here, just playing this chokehold on the south side of Skyhook. The question is, they ran into a lot of the same teams early on in map 1. This could be Startifight Esports, Ember as one as well. But just carrying on and taking a long rotation, looks like I love these teams that are playing for the longevity. They're not taking fights that they don't necessarily have to just yet, which is really great to see.
To give some history for Game Ward too, to kind of highlight why they're also just popping off today, they had a nice pop-off day, day number 6, where they actually got second right behind Aurora, and this was the squad that was the last team to win our final game on Stormpoint. So not only are they finding success today here on World's Edge, I'm expecting them to pop off when we make that transition into Stormpoint 2, because they've gotten a nice amount of double-digit KP where they finish strong in their own respective games, and with this rotation on the outside of Skyhook, they're going to be able to take control over this north side where the train track opening is. We've seen some squads hold the mouth of the train tracks here for any of the teams that want to not get pressured out by the squads that have that building, that grandma's building that you made mention of before here, Tiff, that's on the north side of Fragment West.
Yeah, this is relatively uncontested. You can see in the picture-in-picture the map, Pioneers have already made their way just a little bit further south to hold just outside Grandma's house that Ember appears to be occupying. But with all of the teams in Fragment West, it looks like a big gamble. You've got 4 teams in Fragment East, 5 teams in Fragment West. Who will have that zone RNG? But it's not going to be Scars, because they are going to be sent back to the lobby by Heroes, and now jumping on board with Reply Totem, kind of holding this train building here. Game Ward just peeking out a little bit, finding some insane shots with that scout, just essentially bullying the teams in front of them, which would be Ember.
Looking at this circle too, Tiff, wouldn't it be a shame if the circle pulls north towards Epicenter, a little bit more north on that direction where BZM have the high ground? That would funnel all of these teams outside the buildings of Fragment West into the line of sight of the squads like KCP, who have taken control over that little side train cart that's on top of the railroad tracks on the other side of Ember, where they're holding that building. From the very beginning, by the way, KCP and Ember have respectively held these buildings since the very first circle, and it's because they're predicting that this is where the circle is going to be pulling on the north side of Fragment West. So they would allow themselves to see all the squads exiting out of Fragment West and then put themselves in their line of sight for them to clean up the KP.
And I think Nasky is one of the smartest IGLs when it comes to predicting that zone pull, but I don't feel that the Kansas City Pioneers have had much luck thus far today. So to hold that upper area on the edge and not necessarily commit to wait and see where it's going to pull, I'm sure Nasky is somewhere hanging out in that crypto drone, watching all of the action unfold before they commit to really rotating, but Game Ward has now found themselves in a rather precarious situation, kind of just stuck inside this tunnel, knowing that Ember and Pioneers are both on the outskirts of this. So my question is, with no real Valk, you're not going to be able to hit a skyward dive. You do have the Bangalore, so you could smoke it out and rotate, maybe hit a grav lift and try to finesse it. But what do you think they should do here, Vicky?
Either maybe take a little bit of circle damage, go through the back, or if they don't want to risk taking some of that damage, going off to the side to approach behind the big rock that KCP is in to avoid getting pinched would probably be the best approach that GameWard could go for, especially knowing that they have the information that Ember's on the left side by the building. They know where the circle is going to be pulling to, so they can avoid being in the line of sight of Pioneers. But with Natsuki also going to be able to have that information with the crypto, that's going to allow KCP to know where GameWard wants to rotate, or if they're already taking some shots, so that way they can know where the noise is coming from for the squads that are rotating behind them.
Meanwhile, Heroes going to eliminate Nightmare Esports. Bitfix Gaming held up in a building here in Fragment. And I feel like I can just hear the audio cues of the walls coming down, maybe a Sheila, but Mjo's right here with that 30-30 repeater, finding some nice poke damage, level up those Evos, but Kill Leader Zane with 3 eliminations on that horizon. A beautiful little shot just to update you. VZN, we got a chat to talk to Nags a couple broadcast days back, and you know, he previously had said he wasn't even going to be playing. Gets picked up for VZN. They deal the final blows to V2. Just really excited to see what they have in store for them today, currently sitting in 5th.
Ooh, with the quickness, getting the Evil Shield swap real quick from Zane and dropping the other Evil Shield for Nags to be able to get right back up and be able to get that Evil Shield so that we can have the health advantage before Game Ward now get involved to try to third party them before they can restabilize. But a nice quick get out of jail card with the gravity lift is going to allow VCN to get out of this fight. But now they've also given up all this loot to Game Ward. Yeah, they just came out of Skyhook trials, but you know what? You can't ever have enough loot if you're a bunch of loot goblins who are a little late to the third party.
Nothing wrong with being a little loot goblin. I myself am one as well, so I don't blame them. But I like this. This is the calm before the storm. Round 3 currently closing, 13 squads remaining, and if VZN has at least 4 assists on VJ, you know for a fact they are doing incredibly well, picking up eliminations throughout that mid game. But here are your map 2 winners. Game Ward finding some success just on the outskirts of the ring, and they have the ability to hold everyone in Fragment. But the question is, where are we pulling? Where are we pulling? Are we pulling to the just on the outskirts? And you can see the ring updating right there.
Such a good point, too, with the fact that they're on the high ground. This is the same position that I was worried about for any of the squads that are going to be able to be in that high ground. It's Phoenix Legacy have been on the high ground of this building for a very long time. There's that squad that's right underneath them. I believe that may be Ember, who had rotated away from that building that they were holding for a really long time on the other side of KCP. But with Ember now taking control over one of the floors here, that bottom floor of this building, they're going to be able to stay put right now before making their next plan, because they're inside this next circle and they don't have the information of where it's going to be pulling after this.
Very interesting, but at least they do have Babis on the Watson to be able to fence up a lot of this building. Newcastle wall available if they do so need it. Would hate to see them utilize it so early on, but using the tactical to hold up. Oh no, look at the bunkering down. One nade goes wrong. You need to put that Jenny up there because I'm already nervous for y'all.
It's the PTSD coming out from Tip out here, understanding the situation. But with Ember also having Bavis get a bunch of these ultimate accelerants right now, you know that that generator is going to be online. You know that they're going to probably have another opportunity to get another one if they have another accelerator to work with here too. So Ember just playing patiently inside these buildings alongside Phoenix Legacy, who have the high ground. Foot Esports, I also believe, is on the other building right next door to them. But I'm worried about the squads that have to rotate from the south side of Fragment West, because this circle is going to be pulling more so toward that bridge area on the east side, where Game Ward's overlooking a lot of the action from the high ground.
Well, let's talk about those teams that you're worried about, because it's going to be Pioneers. Haven't had a lot of luck thus far today. We're currently in map 3 and looking to see what they can bring to the table. They're still on the outskirts, but Young Hong Kong really wreaking a lot of havoc with a 30-30, finding a nice down onto Kralix, and they have just been an absolute nuisance, bunkered down on the outskirts of the ring in the building. And as you can see, the collapsing of all of those teams holding the 2 buildings just on the left side of the zone. But they're Pioneers finally making their journey, and it's Game Ward that's going to have to jump off that epicenter cliff to make the play for the building that VZN is occupying.
Yeah, they have to start moving in closer into that next circle. The EMP rigging out inside this building for Ember to try to restabilize in. I believe that could have been KCP who would try to make their move into this building right now without getting put into the line of sight of Phoenix Legacy. So that means there are 4 squads trying to take control over this building alone. That is absolutely chaotic. If the circle starts pulling way more to the east, that's going to force those 4 squads outside into the line of sight of Game Ward, outside of the line of sight of Foot Esports that are actually in that next circle.
The fact that they didn't have to hop down yet is absolutely brilliant for them. But Pioneers, I've seen people do this before, trying to navigate the side of this building, a little hardcore parkour. Not sure if Nasky's gonna be able to make it happen, but Serdell, frag in hand, wants to get this up to the rooftop, but playing it safe. Meanwhile, Bitfix Gaming fully eliminated. 12 squads remaining, and honestly, Vicky, there's nothing more exciting than a game that's going to end in fragment. I'd be interested to see if it pulls more towards where Aurora is occupying, but here you go. Pioneers entering the building, finding a little bit of damage, nothing really substantial or paying off just yet. It's a little bit of griefing on their hand.
They need loot though, and so if they're gonna try to take these fights, they need the opportunity to at least access these death boxes. Look, the skies are congested with the crypto drones flying around each other, just saying a quick hello real quick to get that information. But they need loot because they were inside that truck on the north side by the train tracks, close to that grandma's building from the very beginning. So they had limited loot to work with as Max Drapier are looking to engage.
Nasky on the drone, Serdell and Max Drapier going in with the kill. Jenny down, but still taking a good bit of damage. Eva 8 out, and everyone has just kind of disengaged from the fight above them. This is a really precarious situation. Nasky pushing in as well, finds a crack, a down on Draconian as well with the frag grenade. This should cause for a lot of attention to come their way. Just need to find 2 more members of the team above them.
Oh, this is huge for them to kind of clean up this KP. They need to be able to try to take advantage of this right now, even with the circle closing in right behind their backs. Not only is this extra loot, but this is the KP that they need. They clean up that squad. Night squad's left, and KCP are looking to exit out the mouth of this building right into the line of sight of another squad that's right next to them.
Meanwhile, Nasky finding some shots there. Ascend going down just after taking out Reply Totem. Let's cut on over to VZN. They're in a little bit of a scuffle. Arc Stars, Thermites is starting to feel a little bit like Endeavor's prominence burn here, hitting that grab lift to really avoid a lot of that. And Gatekeep to the ring. Can they make their way out of this? Unfortunately, VZN going to fall, and it's going to be on the hands of Forge trying to make that reset, get a little bit of stability. But Ember still have the health advantage. The 3-piece team still alive.
Game Ward with the creeping barrage as well. They got involved in the fight that Phoenix Legacy was in on the top of the building. That means Game Ward dropped down from the high ground on Epi and jumped into that building that KCP was sharing originally. Ember looking to restabilize here too. There are fights happening in every single side of this final circle right now. Aurora also went in to third-party Forge before they were able to restabilize and clean them up. Huge grenade coming in from Imp 2, coming in from Phoenix Legacy. So we see some trades between those 2 squads. As you can see, Ember looking to clean up the rest of Foot Esports.
Foot Esports going out in 6. Now Ember needing to stabilize once again. A little duck and diving behind that kind of desk in the building and still stuck inside. The issue is this ring should end out in the open. So all of our 5 teams scurried along the outskirts are going to have to make a play. But Ember needs to make sure that they have the Jenny on and the wall available to them as they completely decimate.
4 squads left right now in this lobby, and Ember is one of them. Foot Esports get eliminated. Game Ward as well as Pioneers, Phoenix Legacy, Ember, and Aurora are the only ones left right now in this lobby.
Ember restabilizing, 3 squads remaining. I believe we're going to jump into a quick listen and to see how they plan on navigating this endgame.
Over here, over here.
WP best, WP best. We are EMP.
EMP. Pop me back, pop me back.
I don't get back. Nice.
Can we watch out? Can we watch out? Look, they're trading. There's time to shoot now. I mean, there's time.
You need to give me knockdown, Bobbis. Give me knockdown right now.
We're
gonna repeat it later.
I have no heals, I have no heals.
Bro, I think I have to run on me. Run on me. Yeah, I'm making the queue.
Okay.
Shoot the car. Yeah, shoot this guy, sir.
Almost cracked.
Walk up.
Yeah, walk up left. Maybe.
Play slow, still play slow, boys.
Yeah, okay, play on this. I shot them. Race one over here. Over here.
I died.
Knock one.
2 guys here.
Aurora coming out on top. That EVA 8-hit fire shots missing was the nail in the coffin for Ember to go down, but Aurora holding the other side of the fence line. You said a perfect tip. You know that when that Nox grenade is out, with those caustic traps are set up, that it's got to be Aurora on the other side, being the only squad to rock the caustic composition on World's Edge here.
Yeah, Aurora come in and they steal the show yet again. Second place. They know what that tastes like, but they wanted first. They didn't get a chance to go for the fight at the end. They clearly did on this one, and it shows you why Caustic has been and will always be such a threat when he makes it to the end game. Very, very hard to beat a team who is using Caustic effectively, and the gas is almost impenetrable. And that's saying something considering they went up against the Valkyrie, Newcastle, and Watson team, which would be impenetrable on paper too. Somehow Aurora found a way though, Tiff, and it was a great performance all the way through. Ember, I think, though, played very well to get to that point.
Look, I thought we were going to get a win with it on the listen in, but you could hear just the moment where they were just like, we don't have any heals. We are going into this endgame fight. We have no heals. We cannot get stable. And at that point where they're just like, hey, we're getting second. That's all that matters. You want to make sure you're taking down that other team, which was Kansas City Pioneers, trying to make a play. And unfortunately, they could not withstand Nox gas traps coming out. And I was like, oh, Aurora, you said it, Rain Day. Not happy with second place. Want to continue their domination. And it's just always fun to see.
I mean, one of the things I was actually going to start criticizing, because it struck me after I had made the point of sometimes your lineups, you know, they just don't work out, and, you know, they can be very good in situations. I thought, you know, really, I think you should have contingency plans when you design these lineups. Some characters should have mobility. You should think about what if this happens and be ready for it. Aurora shut me up as I'm about to make the point, because they go, you know what, we've made the adjustment. We know what we're giving up weakness-wise, and yet we will then play to it with a little bit more patience. They actually had to go through Nightmare Esports as well and kind of ended up holding that building, Vicky, in order to win. But it was a great adjustment after seeing in Game 2 just how much it could burn them if they don't play perfectly.
Yeah, we also saw Ranches light up the kill feed too. So Ranches popping off with the Wraith was also nice to see for Aurora to also lock down that other side of that fence line, because like you mentioned earlier, when it comes to having that caustic in the end game, that is so detrimental to making sure you can gas out the other squads that don't have that same luxury. Even if there was no Watson out in the field with a generator, it wouldn't have been able to do much there at the very end when it comes to some of those barrels. But KCP also shared the other side of the train tracks with Ember from the very beginning. So to see these two squads still at the very end having to go down to the likes of Aurora was also very interesting.
Not sure I like, or if you're a KCP fan, if you like what KCP have been doing, because they've been so good. They haven't been at the top in the same way that they were coming out in day one, taking a W. It feels like there's still a team that is almost there, a third place team, a second place team, and I know people have been wishing for Dell and for Nasky and Max to put it together. Even the tournament yesterday, they tied for third, but because they didn't have the highest kill game, got fourth and were out of the prize money. So it feels like maybe there's something about that to KCP they can get over as we head towards the end, where you must be perfect. Tiff, though, walk us through top 10 here. Aurora with a big game.
Big game indeed, 24 points for them, but Fire Beavers still holding the biggest game of the day in that map one with 28 points, although Aurora incredibly close. Ember playing the game very smart, coming away with 12 points, but Pioneers taking a well-timed fight on the outskirts of Frag West to find not only the well-needed loot, but the eliminations to get them the same amount of points as Ember. But Phoenix Legacy having a lot of success here in map number 3, which is something that we needed them to do because they kind of are facing relegation at this point. And I want to talk about consistency here, Vicky. It's not Food Esports. They're constantly in 6th, top 3 as well, and they need to do what they need to do, and they're doing it.
Yeah, it's also nice to see how consistent they have been able to do it with KP to their name as well. I believe before this game alone, they were sitting in number 7th in the overall leaderboards after those first 2 games. So to see them to end strong here on World's Edge brings me to question if they can do the same going on to Storm Point.
Well, let's take a look to Vicky. Give me your thoughts on the back half of this lobby. Fire Beavers, they won a game.
Yeah.
Didn't do much here.
Yeah, Fire Beavers, after that first game pop-off, we haven't really been able to see them pop off anymore throughout the rest of World's Edge. Gaming Gladiators, again, getting the triple bagel that we don't want to see them get. So unfortunately not getting the results that they also could work with alongside Nightmare Esports, where Nightmare Esports are also on the cusp of trying to make it into LAN. Now not doing so hot though in their performance in these last previous 2 games on World's Edge. Gaming Gladiators need to get something cooking though, because they're also risking themselves on getting put into the relegations.
weirdly enough, A versus C doesn't tend to go well for GG. They had, I think, one moment where they might have had an opportunity to showcase their goods, and I think they got 15th. The next time they met in day 5, they got 19th. So it's 15th and 19th so far, track record, when these two groups clash. And they're right on pace with that, with 1 point there. On the top, though, on the other side, you've got Aurora, Game Ward, Fire Beavers rounding out our top 3. Forge and Ascend come in last, certainly in the mix to be able to take first place or get into that top 3 and get into 20 points added to the overall score, which is where these teams want to be to make moves. KCP, with what they did last game, ended up getting 21. They will be there as well as Foot Esports round out our top 10, and Ember with a good performance right on the cusp of that. So if they keep that up in Storm Point, we should be seeing them break into the top 10 very, very shortly. Let's look, though, at our overall kill leaders, the winners of game number 3. And it's all thanks to Aurora and Ranches. 10 kills on the day, Tiff, leading everyone else by just 1 from 9 Impulse and Bambino, but very, very impressive so far.
I mean, we were talking about it. Vicky was like, Aurora is just absolutely lighting up the kill feed in map number 3, and it's no surprise how strong their end games can be, but it's kind of interesting to see Nasty just breaking in at the bottom 10. You've got Plum from the 3 Muppets. We haven't really seen too much of the 3 Muppets, but 2 members of Fire Beavers on here as well, and that's going to be from that map 1 performance. I know we were looking at the series results. Fire Beavers sitting at 30? That means 28 points alone holding them from map number 1 and only getting 2 points in map number 2 and map number 3. They're gonna have to stand up strong in Storm Point if they want to keep to the top of the leaderboard.
Well, it is going to be something very exciting as we head into the back half of the day. I think Storm Point shifts Apex Legends in our competitive league more than anything else, more than what we see from game to game. This map really opens up rhythms and rotations for different teams, but certain teams have already had success, and that's the key. Now going to a new map, can you replicate it? And can you keep doing what's been working for you? Or do you stall? Do you fall out? Do you pitter out and end up saying, wow, we really need to work on that map? That's the question, and I want to kind of go into our focus for how they've been so successful in this first part of the game. They needed a result, and it's Game Ward who have been getting it. They have been really, really good so far today.
Yeah, even though we've seen Ranches pop off in that last game, you saw how he was 10 kills in the overall kill leaderboard standings. He secured 7 of those kills in that last game alone. Game Ward, though, have consistently been on top from the very beginning in World's Edge. And I love how you brought it to question, can they keep this up going into Storm Point? Winning this skirmish, I believe, between Ascend and Game Ward had allowed Game Ward to get the confidence needed to keep up their fragging out domination in the rest of the lobby, even after this game win that they took. Game number 2 with 10 KP to their name. Yeah, Ascend have also consistently been in 3rd, but Game Ward absolutely needs to continuously pop off, because this is a squad that we were talking about before, that if they want a chance at making it into the land, this is a day that they need to pop off.
And if you've been excited about what you've seen today, find yourself taking on the path to Pro League. Our Split 1 Challenger Circuit registration closes December 14th. You could find yourself actually in the Pro League. I know a lot of teams have done that. They've been showcased here. Check out battlefy.com/ALGS to sign up. Challenger Circuit number 4 also closes January 4th. And that is where these teams are going to have to go if they ultimately don't get the results that they need today. I'm talking Gaming Gladiators. I'm talking even Game Ward, who seem to be proving that they want to stay in this Pro League. They're not going to put it all up to chance. We'll find out here as we switch over to Storm Point and enter our second half of the tournament today, where we keep seeing Game Ward performance fly high. Well, other teams steal the show. Let's find out in just a moment.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
What is at stake today? A path and an opportunity, not only to a chance at a regional final, but maybe a chance at LAN and staying in the Pro League. Teams fighting for their lives. And Game Ward, a team we had just mentioned, taking a W, playing well, getting our focus over the 3 games. In Storm Point, can they keep it up? Will we see more surprises from Group C, who desperately need it? Let's bring in Tiff, and let's start talking about it, because that was kind of what we set up, Tiff. They need to perform today. There are a lot of teams in Group C that are not only facing relegation, but facing not even having a chance to be in the regional final, which, even though they may not qualify on points, gives them an opportunity to maybe win, maybe have one big performance that can redeem their entire season. Feels like they know it too, and that's why we're seeing an up level in terms of their game.
That is the goal for these teams, especially with having that day in hand, you know. But Fire Beavers, Game Ward, it's been really exciting to see them throw down here. And as we move on to Storm Point, I'm really excited to see what kind of zones we're going to get. Gaming Gladiators, I can't even say it. Gaming Gladiators up there with Phoenix Legacy near North Pad might be in a little bit of an early contest, so that could be fun as well. But we know how these rotations have been for some of these teams, and just because you have a good zone doesn't mean you're going to be able to withstand holding on to the building. Let's jump on board. Phoenix Legacy Alpha Draft already going down, and Imp trying to get back into the fight, grabs the whip, showing up just a little bit late, now finding themselves in a 2v3 scenario.
Difficult spot here on North Pad. Gaming Gladiators already off to a great start in terms of finding 1 down, 1 kill, and looking to finish off the rest of Phoenix Legacy. This is difficult for Phoenix Legacy, though, a team that is desperately needing some points. Sunset on the Bangalore, demonstrating why we say this team gets better on Storm Point. For whatever reason, the pacing, the freedom, the ability to have fights like this and start at North Pad, it just serves Gaming Gladiators as their World's Edge has struggled. So will this be the resurgence? 3 games, you can get a lot done. Phoenix Legacy know that, but they don't want to go out too soon. And unfortunately, Tiff, it's Alpha Draft who would have been able to get this banner, who goes down as well. Sunset taking a little bit of a risk there, goes into the shield, the fences of Watson, and now it's Sabs and Imp who are trying to hold it down. I can't believe it. After already having Alpha Draft down, Gaming Gladiators push, and they lose to Phoenix Legacy, who just hold the bridge and stay patient.
Imp gets the Rory, gets the eliminations. Look, I'm not gonna lie, GG, that was really tough to watch. I respect the push towards the high ground where Phoenix Legacy was maintaining, but you had already cut them off from the loot. They only had a minimal amounts of ammo, but Sabs and Imp able to pull it off. Now going for the reset, they can grab the respawn immediately and not even have to worry about any teams in the nearby vicinity. Right, we can see the map in the upper left-hand of the screen. There's no one even in checkpoint or the wall at this point. This should be free.
Yeah, Phoenix Legacy now have a lot of opportunities on how they want to rotate. They can play edge and push forward with everything in front of them. Game War just at Down Beast to their southwest, or to their southeast in their representation of the map. But still a great start for them, and it looked very treacherous. But Phoenix Legacy, let's not lie about it, they had the better position. That high ground spot, that bridge, super tough to push because you can set up with the Watson, and there's very few angles on which to take, and you kind of have to almost have a disadvantage if you want to keep that fight going. Gaming Gladiators, though, maybe just saying, we're frustrated. We know this isn't our day so far. Let's just get something. And if we don't, then hey, it's just like what's been happening. And I think that's what it feels like they've conceded to. This isn't going to be their day. This maybe not going to be their Pro League split. And yet Phoenix Legacy fighting for something. And that's kind of what, to me, has made them an interesting team to follow. They're in relegation. And yesterday I saw them perform at a tournament. They were playing like they had something to win. Like they really had a chance. And if Phoenix Legacy, even if they get a 3rd place here, a 4th place, which they're kind of keen to do, that 17 points not only puts them out of relegation, it gives them a chance to maybe even be in the regional final. And so Phoenix Legacy kind of, on the flip side, you know, Tiff saying, oh, what do we have to win here? And how can we be the best version of ourselves over these next 2 days? I feel like they are definitely making Phoenix Legacy fans proud now.
Speaking of fans, fans being proud. Nightmare Esports on the other side of this fight with scars. A lot of poke damage, a lot of bit of leveling of those Evo shields. Yarka getting cracked, forced to relegate into this building, find some safety, and Taishin putting up all the fences, but Forge, we just checked in with them and they were fully healthy. Now Jay Savage last alive and putting the finishing blow into Heroes, and thankfully Roe and Phoenix were not finished. They were able to get a relatively clean reset here as well. And something to note today, Rain Day, I haven't really seen too many third parties on Stormpoint. Teams just getting to reset for free with no real contention.
One of the benefits of the size of this map, you do have a chance to take these fights and not be as crowded as some of the buildings fights of Fragment East or some of the smaller locations where multiple teams share multiple buildings and essentially the same square footage just above one another. A lot more room. And Forge know it, so they take the fight, they risk losing 3, but they take down that team and they get 2 back up to fully stabilize. Sitting on 31 points, they are in 4th place, but I think they might have just jumped to 3rd, as Fire Beavers do not have a point as well. Traveling on with Ember, our 11th place team, they had a good game in game number 3. They lost out to Aurora, but now if they continue that, certainly should have a chance to break into top 10. That's good signs for young Hong Kong Fricks and Bavis, who were so close, yet just so far in terms of how that team fight went. They did change, however, the Newcastle for the Crypto. Tiff, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, just giving themselves some more flexibility here in Stormpoint.
I mean, this is a team composition that a lot of people have been playing both on World's Edge and Stormpoint, finding success. NA teams like HEC and the Guard doing incredibly well, and EMEA teams finding it fruitful as well. So curious to see what Ember is going to be able to do with that, and hopefully scout out some loot for themselves so they don't go into an endgame circle lacking on meds. But that was just really tough because we saw just how many teams were held up in Fragment. But V2 over here on Stormcatcher, there's a team just on the other side of Nubicide here. You can see the heartbeat sensor lighting up with that information. I love holding the roof. You can really drop down and pick which door you want to ascend on the team inside, but patient as ever as the Horizon Black Hole going in, coupled with some Arc Stars and Thermites, and I believe he stuck one.
We saw V2 and Joke already finish off a big-time fight that ended up getting cleaned by Game Ward in game number 1. Actually, game number 2, where they ended up taking the W, but V2 not necessarily as lucky now. Joke taking a lot of damage there. Zidane returning fire just back. V2 content to hold angles and slowly but surely try to push. Seer ultimate not being used yet. 60% on it, but they're going to try to focus of attention. It will miss. And so no information even on the footsteps briefly as V2 take the high ground.
Did just see a player jet off into that grav cannon. This should be 3 Muppets as well, and honestly, early on, 3 Muppets was responsible for eliminating Pioneers as one of the first teams to go out in this lobby. And
yeah,
you can see right there, I believe 3 Muppets may only have 1 player left standing over in Thunderwatch, who's going to have a long journey of rotating back into Stormcatcher, as that is where the ring is pulling, and V2 sitting in prime position on the high ground to withstand all of the teams in a nearby vicinity.
Strongest just trying to make it back in. Doesn't have much hope with Kumbra and Plum already down. 3 Muppets have done well today. 22 points after 3. And if they could survive a little bit longer after adding 3 KP here, they'll be able to get some placement points as well. That starts at 15. But you only get 1 until top 10. Then it really starts to snowball, and that will be a tough task for Strongest if he's got to do it alone. It's not like we haven't seen it. Dropped from North America, making a big rat play the other day that actually won him and his squad over $5,000. Actually worth $10,000 overall. So rats still have a place, Tiff, in Apex Legends, although it's a limited place with the amount of seers that we have seen over this last year. But with Crypto and Watson and Newcastle Watson and Bangalore coming in, we're seeing less seers, maybe the return of some ratting opportunities.
I love that you bring up Lessiers as the rat is going to be eliminated by V2. And I feel like that's why we're seeing more so in NA, the return of more Caustic and Gibby, such as Optic Gaming electing to go back to that. We already know that Aurora does run the Caustic as well, but just controlling your space. Also, the plethora of cryptos. You're finding all the information as well. At any given time, you can see up to 2 or 3 drones in the air and maybe 3 cryptos and a nearby tablet in hand, such as Nasky. But V2, they needed to have a standout performance, currently sitting in 14th place, their Horizon player, getting a lot of eliminations here thus far, lighting up that kill feed, but coming in, as we see 3 Muppets already go out. They came in 22nd place, Rain Day, which means that they were on the cusp of it. And with them being in Group A, this is their last match day ahead of regional finals.
Really, really tough for V2 to think that they might have an opportunity here. They actually do have a chance. I believe being in so far 14th today. We'll see what ends up happening for them. But ultimately, you got to say that that's what makes day 8, day 9 so fun. Teams vying for that 20th position. And that means that you can make it into the regional final. Then, even if you're not top 10 or top 9, plus our regional final winner, you'll have a chance to win the day, to win the match point. And if you can do that, you will be going to land. It doesn't matter if you join that top 20 as the 20th place team. And so it's hope that they're fighting for, a chance that they desperately need. And that is what is creating the tension. That's what's creating performances from teams that have done well, no doubt about it. Fire Beavers, a team in 11th, they've done fine. You see Game War teams in, 18th, 19th, 20th place. Foot Esports, they've done pretty well. But now today it feels like it might be their lobby, and that is why there's just so much more intensity and reasoning behind their having a good performance today versus someone who admittedly, like KCP, is going to do okay, but they're already almost guaranteed a spot at LAN, even if they don't win, based on how well that they've done.
Oh, this is going to be a really tough fight for Fire Beavers. Rain Day, we saw them take to the sky to really get on the other side of Turkish Stars, but my entire eyesight was on OJ's health as they made an oob play drop down. It looks like Turkish Stars is going to disengage and say, hey, no, we don't want any portion of this gatekeeping, and they're just going to run for a longer rotation. But well played there to make sure that they can get on the other side of Turkish Stars, coming in currently in 18th place with only 4 points. But Fire Beavers living off that map 1 win with only finding 2 points throughout maps 2 and 3. Gonna utilize this time to maybe craft up, get some utility for that end game so they don't run out of health. Plus, you can see all the med kits being used here, Rain Day.
Yeah, you got to, and hopefully they have enough to get to where they need to be to set up for the next zone. Round 3 closing in. 1 minute and 5 seconds on the clock before that starts to begin. 16 squads still alive and well. Ascend being one of them. Our leaders in overall EMEA as far as the point getters, sitting on 93 points overall. It's been a masterclass from them, a great split one. I'm sure they're looking to continue that and end it heading into LAN, which they assuredly will be at on a high note, raising that trophy. Yashira mentioned bringing his father to LAN, see him play and compete. A dream of his that it looks like he'll be able to do, but we'll see him like Jin Burton, whose father was there at playoffs in Raleigh, championship in Raleigh, raise the trophy. It's a special moment to have a father there with a son, and to see them raise a trophy, it's something that you wish every parent and child can experience. And I certainly know that that's something Ascend will be fighting for. Fire Beavers just want to get there, but they've had a great day so far, as well as Foot Esports, Tiff, who you highlighted earlier, sitting in 10th and set up here towards the end of the day as we are moving to the northeast for this circle as it begins to close in.
Yeah, you can see Ascend set up right there with all the Watson fences. Looks like Bitfix Gaming just on the outskirts. Lufka looking to grab an angle, but post kill taking a lot of damage is going to fall. So now the lone man standing for Ascend, currently in 5th place. We asked, could they get 3 match day wins here in Group A versus C? But Bitfix Gaming and Game Ward dealing the final blows to Ascend, going out in 14th place. But Bitfix Gaming, they do usually play that Rampart on World's Edge, not electing to continue that here on to Storm Point. Turkish Stars also falling as well, and I really like the positioning here by Bitfix Gaming. They just need to walk it into the other side of this fence, but if Game Ward was on the play to take out Ascend, they've got to be nearby.
Phoenix Legacy also going down as Foot Esports, Game Ward, and Bitfix Gaming get it going. Big shot there. And another one as well. Creeping in with a G7 Scout. Exhibit goes down. Maybe just worried about teams approaching, signaling if you do come into our fight, we are going to see you there. And especially for those trying to run away. Game Ward goes out. Bitfix Gaming having their turn to try to drive this lobby down the road that they want to end up at. And the G7 Scout continues to ring. Now on the low ground, a difficult spot, especially with teams still on the higher position. Scars being one of them, pressuring out Bitfix Gaming. They're going to have to hold here. And they've already gotten 4 points in terms of kills on the day. They've earned another one for breaking top 10. Again, they stay alive here. It's just Majaz. And Creeping is going to follow suit. I don't think he's going to be able to make it out. And no, it's Scars showing up, Tiff, for maybe the first time today, and maybe the perfect time today in their first game on Storm Point.
A little bit of a perfect blend between Nightmare Esports and Scars, but now Scars has their work cut out for them as Nightmare is now gatekeeping the north side of their rotation. So Scars is going to have an uphill battle. They're going to have to get through them. The question is, do you cut to the left or do you cut through the right? Because we know how many teams enjoy playing Edge, making sure they pick up their eliminations throughout mid-game, but only 8 squads remaining here. Scars coming in 17th place, finally finding some well-needed eliminations, and Storm Point needs to be the better half for them. Going up, you can hear the sniper shots just whizzing by, just missing the head. And I don't know if they know this, but Nightmare Esports is only a 2-man, so they could essentially take this fight if they could get a good LOS on Seven and Denze.
I love what we're seeing here from Nightmare Esports. Climbing back into the opportunity that they know is awaiting them, sitting at 10. They've done so well in this tournament across these 8 days. If they can do it here again, they might just be making sure they get their ticket booked to land. With only 1 day left to play in terms of that qualifying for the regional final, and then one more that will secure their spot. Scars trying to get there, and 8 squads now fighting from on up high, using that Newcastle shield to perfection, just buying time and easily relocatable if he finds Hierarcha, that is. Another spot that suits the team and him better, but with a G7 Scout with a castle wall above, they are in a decent spot, but are they in a better spot than Forge? I think not, as Hierarcha goes and takes down Denze. Forge still looking from a pretty great angle tip on this G7 Scout, and Phoenix taking down that interception pylon, just making it difficult for them to hold in case there are ordinances they want to throw that way.
Doing incredibly well here thus far. Well-needed KP, putting them in 3rd currently. And you can see their rotation is relatively going to be scotch-free. You've got V2 that's been holding Stormcatcher throughout the entirety of this game, and Fire Beavers holding that hallway along with Reply Totem on the other side of them. My question is, will those 3 teams kind of turn their attention towards each other and allow Scars just a little bit of freedom to get where they need to be, because they're just on the outskirts on the southern side of the ring, because we have seen it pull to the south side of this POI, which would actually have given Scars that god spot. But now it seems that they are in a rather turmoilish positioning, and Forge may have the upper hand to just unleash straight onto Scars.
Scars and Start a Fight Esports, 2 of our 6 teams still alive here, at the risk of being relegated. Forge at the risk of making their first LAN. I've seen Phoenix compete in LANs many times. Commented over his action. Would be a treat. They could finally get over that hump of being a 10th to 14th place team and just outside of the show. I think there's determination here. Still rocking the Seer and the bow check bow at that.
Let's go here.
Holding that line of sight too. Still round 5 about to start closing. They're in a great spot. I love the high ground here. To their right though is Fire Beavers. And Startified Esports directly across from them, as well as Scars below. So Forge having to deal with holding this zone. I think they're going to be able to do it. They've got some nice peaks. And as long as that Bocek bow can threaten enough, they should be able to do so. And you know what? Who better to figure out how they're feeling than Forge themselves? Let's go ahead and listen in as the big fight starts.
Just for guys, just remember.
He's gonna walk up on the left.
On the left, on the left.
I don't see her.
Bogey here.
I need to heal.
Yeah, smoking for me. Smoking for me.
You two play together now, okay? I want you guys to calm down.
Look on the top too.
There's a team on the left on the bodies.
Can someone watch left side?
Yeah, there's a team there.
Keep watching left side. I'm playing closer.
I revealed them.
Do you need that? No, you're fine. Okay, guys, listen. We have a team in front. We have a team here, right? A
Yes,
team on
but
top,
look,
and it's
the
on
team
right.
on the left is a big threat, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, the right team is also a big threat.
117.
Watching quickly. I'm gonna fence deeper.
Oh, super glide. Take shot.
Watch for me, please, Savage.
Yeah.
We need to use our boxes to force us. This left team is gonna send us, guys.
Okay,
We
one
have
peek. Yes, yes,
get
they have-
fences
they have
on. Get
crypto.
fences on Savage. Get fences on
They
Savage.
have crypto.
I'm
Make
doing
sure you
this,
have a
I'm
gen
doing
ready for after the EMP.
Yes. I have
Yeah,
to
do
save
it,
my
I do it.
shield as well, okay? I got. Left side, left
On the
side.
left.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
They're already there.
Crack you.
Push it together. Get the knock.
Wow, start a fight. Start a fight, needed that one. Phoenix was saying this team on the left is dangerous. It turned out to be a premonition, not a warning. And start a fight. Continue. What is a fantastic day for a team in relegation who desperately need points. Well, they're getting them. 5th place overall with 33 and still more on the board. Potentially able to get 5th.
3 squads remaining. We have V2, Fire Beavers, your map 1 winners, really looking to continue on that success here. But Start a Fight, you mentioned it, facing relegation and really doing a great job manipulating and going through the south side of the zone to take down Forge. The question is, the war of attrition, how you can kind of get out of the LOS and force the other 2 teams to fight to relieve some pressure for you. But Joke falling incredibly low here, and now Start a Fight looking to get into this. But Fire Beavers has just been in that tunnel, biding their time, wanting to come in at the very last minute and essentially clean this one up, Rain Day.
They just want to apply pressure. They know they're going to have a chance to impact the game with the R301. Bambino waiting for his crypto EMP to be ready. It's 83% right now. Will he have it for this fight? It doesn't look like it. Fire Beavers, they're actually going to run over and try to take on V2, which means that Start a Fight, the team looking at relegation, have just won their first game on Storm Point and are making a statement that we are here to stay to all of ALGS and EMEA.
Started with a bow check, ended with a W, Rain Day. That's exactly what they needed to do. And I was sitting there thinking, you know, Fire Beavers, just bide your time, force the other 2 teams to fight. But meanwhile, it was Start a Fight doing that the entire time, Vicky.
Yeah, it was really nice to see that Start a Fight at the very end. Also, were able to secure, what, 9 KP there, so their positioning was beautiful. Even hearing that Phoenix unfortunately had gone down right there at the very end, Start a Fight was a problem on the other side of that fence line.
Oh yeah, Start a Fight was a problem, and they had to do a lot to get to where they were. Remember that swing fight onto Forge and Phoenix, who were holding really well, but they found enough damage to put Phoenix out. That's a good team. That's a team that's playing cohesively because they recognize the moment that was there. We're not going to be able to get out of this. Yes, we could rise and go high on that ridge and then get exposed to Fire Beavers, get exposed to V2, but really the spot that we want is right in front of us to our right. They could see it, but they couldn't stop it, and that's how you know that they're hitting their shots and they're playing well. I think heading into this next game, that's exactly the kind of confidence that can make you feel not only can you do well today, but you can win this lobby. I mean, Ascend isn't showing up the same way that they were, Tiff. We're not seeing teams that maybe would demoralize you like Aurora getting 30 points out on top. I feel like this is anybody's tournament today.
It's been a really interesting day, and as I watch these maps and get to jump on the mic for the action, I'm just sitting here thinking, Ascend, you know, they came into the first initial Group A versus C with, I believe, 3 map wins. They come back stronger on the second meetup, get the 4 map wins, and honestly, they haven't won today, and it begs the question, teams like KCP and Ascend having interesting days. I mean, granted, they have found themselves within the top 9 on points for EMEA, but where are they today?
I think it's a great point, Vicky. Where are they? Is this just a slow start? Is it just a decent performance and we expect so much of them that when they play well, it's not enough?
Yeah, it also comes into question that all the other squads that maybe had a rough start to the league here are now taking their time to start ramping things up with different game plans too. I mean, you look at the likes of even Aurora utilizing the Catalyst again on Stormpoint. The change up even for some of these teams may not have the start that they need, but it's about ramping up that really matters to secure the points that you need to even compete and land.
That's what I feel this is all about. It's all about the teams who need it most showing up. And that's something that in many ways, when you look at other community tournaments that go on, maybe there's a top 3 in prizing, it changes things because teams know that, hey, it's kind of a desperation moment now. If we're out of that situation, we've got to do something different. We've got to throw everything we can at it. And teams know I've got to hold on. In this format, although it creates this amazing kind of in-game match point scenario, what we end up having here is a few teams like Ascend, like Aurora, who kind of know that even if they don't win today, they're still in. They're still probably even going to land with points, let alone being in the regional final to have another chance. And that is gonna be a difference. I mean, if you competed in anything, so sometimes the player, the team, the group that wants it more ends up having the better performance on the day, Tiff.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of nailed the nail on the head there. I don't know how that saying goes, to be fair, but
I hope I didn't nail the head, you know?
Yeah.
And if I did, I'm sorry. Whoever said that was.
I mean, with all the charge rifles in play, a lot of headies going through, but it was 3 Muppets that put the nail in the coffin for KCP early on, and you see V2 kind of taking up shop inside of Stormcatcher, which kind of took them through the entirety of the game as they had that beacon there throughout, and they were able to just clean up shop around there. Ember coming to this in 11th place, of course, as well, and Fire Beavers kind of taking that early exit. But you mentioned it, Rain Day, it was Phoenix Legacy that kind of stood up strong throughout the mid-game.
Vicky, your thoughts too on how game number 4 started on Stormpoint?
Honestly, just looking at a lot of the squads, not only rely on the charge rifle, I made mention of it during World's Edge, we have the 4x8 scope in the replicator. This helped benefit the squads that not only have the replicator in their POI, but also the beacon too to predict where the circle was going to be pulling, because it's a tricky circle to have to deal with. I mean, you saw what happened to Fire Beavers when the circle was to their backs. They were literally forced in a pinch situation, which is why I highlighted why Started Fight Esports, their positioning on the fence line was so good. We saw Phoenix pop off with that bow check, but I feel like poking just a little too hard into the line of sight with Started Fight is actually what would cause their demise.
Started Fight actually did start this fight, even though it was something you probably say almost with a name like that in any occasion that you're watching this team's POV. It was Fire Beavers who saw the opportunity to get some more KP. I don't think that they felt going into the Watson fences was going to work, and that's something I always try to mention. I don't know how you feel about it, but I just think that if you see someone with Watson fences and you see a team that doesn't, you're just not going to try to go into the fence team. Even if they're an easier team to fight for you, even if they actually don't have that much going on, I just think it's a deterrent that mentally makes you think very quickly, albeit maybe even subconsciously, no, let's just not do it. Here's a team in front of us. Let's fight that. Start a fight, maybe taking advantage of that, maybe just taking advantage of the fact that they got the dub. 21 points in total. A great game, though, from V2 as well, who are looking to make it into that top 10, sitting 17th place right now overall in standings. A big win today certainly would give them some confidence moving forward into day 9. And obviously our final day 10, Fire Beavers 2, and Forge and Reply Totem rounding out our top 5. But I want to get your thoughts now as we switch over to the back half. Tiff, how do you feel about these teams in that second part of the lobby right now? What do they need to do in the next 2 games?
Well, first off, I'm just not used to seeing Ascend and Aurora this far down. I know that's kind of peculiar, as well as Pioneer. So a lot of these teams that you mentioned that I said, I'm like, where are they? Well, look, it's all of the other teams answering back. But Esports, they were pretty consistent nearby the top 6 out of every map that we've seen thus far, in 11th as well. But it's Phoenix Legacy finding 7 eliminations during that match for 8 points. That's huge for them.
I'm telling you, this is a team also relegated. Who did we talk about in this last one? We talked about, Bitfix Gaming had a good game. We start a fight, won the game. Phoenix Legacy are popping off kills wise, and they started off taking on Gaming Gladiators. But here's how it stands, Vicky. Overall standings, what's your impression here? Because Start a Fight now only 2 points away from being in first place as a team that is literally facing relegation.
My impression is that Phoenix Legacy, we saw what Savs was able to pull off, and unfortunate for Gaming Gladiators to have another rough game as they sit in last with only 2 points to their name after the results of these 4 games is honestly sad to see here from Gaming Gladiators, because we know that they've had trouble when it comes to these lobbies, but man, Phoenix Legacy on the ramp up is also really cool to see. Nightmare also kind of behind Reply Totem, who've had their own pop-off moments in terms of securing the KP that they need with a 30-30 in their hands, but then looking at the bright side of news, seeing Aurora now tied with Game Ward for first place, 42 points. There's not much of a gap after 5th place here from Firebeaters.
Foot Esports, Game Ward, Phoenix Legacy, Start a Fight Esports, fighting for a chance to have a chance in our regional final and maybe make it to land. Teams like Forge, though, who are performing so well, are fighting for a spot to finally get there after being so close yet so far in all of our other split performances. We'll see in the last 2 games coming up, our penultimate match here in our ALGS EMEA match day 8 after the break. Apex Legends Global Series Monster Energy, your official energy drink for the ALGS. You know, I don't need an energy drink right now because the action is too exciting. We are here. My name is Rain Day. I'm joined by Spider Tiff and Vicky Kitty, and we are about to watch the last 2 games of what has been a great day of EMEA, and the stakes are raising. Let me explain them if you're just joining us too. We've got teams who are fighting to stay in the league. That's relegation. When we mention that, they will not be in the Pro League if they don't perform today and the next day and our final regional final, which they won't even be in. So they'll have to wait and hope nobody passes them in points at that problem. It will be a issue. A team that may be in the middle of the pack, though, just wants to be there. That's a team like Forge, who are trying to find their way, or Game Ward, to stay in the Pro League and make it to the regional final with a chance. And of course, you're seeing teams have moments that they're trying to push through to guarantee their slots. That's Ascend, and that is KCP and Aurora, who are having slower than usual days. Vicky and Tiff, as I get ready to throw it to you, what's going on here? Is it just that the bottom teams want it more? Is it just that the top teams are taking a bit of a break? Or is it something else? Let us know as we get into game 5 of 6 here, heading into Storm Point. It's Vicky, Kitty, and Spider Tiff.
Thank you so much, Rain. I always love game 5s here, Tiff, because this is the game that determines a lot for the squads that already know where they're standing in the overall standings for the day. And it kind of determines whether they want to get way more aggressive, play more for positioning for Final Circle, play way more passively, especially with the amount of Watsons and Cryptos that we have in these lobbies, or if these squads want to take a much more aggressive approach. So it's going to be nice to see how this has changed up here for the likes of Start a Fight, who also had a pretty nice rotation out of their POI. You can see that they landed no name, but they usually have that beacon over to the side that they could prioritize to see where the circle is going to be pulling.
Yeah, really interesting choices being made here in map number 5. You can see that Gaming Gladiators not going to elect to take that 50-50 on Phoenix Legacy over at North Pad. Gonna drop just to the south of them because there really is no reason. We were looking at it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of empty map space throughout, and Checkpoint was free, so might as well drop onto them. But let's see what Startified Esports is up to. Your map 4 winners, and we were kind of talking about it, Vicky, with the map results and kind of how this day's been shaping up. 1st through 5th place right now is anyone's game with 3 points separating them.
It's crazy. And 4 of those squads in the top 5 are squads that have taken a dub so far here. So it's nice to be able to see how close it is right now in the top 5 spot. With Ascend in 6th place, this is a bit of a difference here, the 10-point difference between themselves and Fire Beavers, who are currently sitting in 5th place now in game number 5. Looking to start a fight, though, after winning that last game with, 9 KP to their name, they have elevated themselves all the way to 3rd place in the overall group standings for today.
Making their rotation just to the outskirts of Command Center. I believe that's where Bitfix Gaming lands, so they'll have a plethora of loot available to them. Start a fight seems to be getting kind of poked at, and I feel like once you say, as Nicewig would mention, napkin purple on the shields, I feel like you have to make your way to say, hey, maybe this isn't a good time to fight. But Surdell, they're already in an engagement and falling, so now Nasty and Max Strafey gonna have to answer back.
Oh man, you were talking about KCP in the brick a little bit now, but Max Strafey has a nice high ground approach currently with the squad that's playing right underneath them. Fighting over here by the wall so early on is going to attract a lot of news and a lot of the squads that rotate from the north side. But Pioneer, specifically Nasky, is in a lot of trouble. He's literally one shot right now. He is dancing, but he can't get away. It's the 3 Muppets that made their appearance, and here comes a third party now making their approach.
Holy, it was 3 Muppets that took out the Pioneers in map number 4, and entering the fray as well. Ember able to get the res off, but Esports also going down. What is this chaos of a matching today here, Vicky? It just seems like no one able to really get some solid footing. We see Plum going down as well, just being peppered from afar once again by a 30-30 repeater, and it's kind of been the star of the game today. Usually it's the scout, Vicky, I feel like, for the versatility, the rapid fire in a sense, but no, it's the repeaters showing up.
And it's Phoenix Legacy making their appearance in this fight too, alongside 6 other squads that have made the rotation into the wall. So this is highly contested so early on. We've already said goodbye to 2 squads, including KCP, right back to the lobby for this game 5. This is why I say I love game 5s, because it can get real chaotic real quick here for the teams that want to play as aggressive as they possibly can. And I like how you also highlight the 30-30, because we've been seeing so much action with this weapon alone today, where, like you mentioned, you usually see it from the charge rifle, the G7, but today it's all about the 30-30 getting some love.
Do love to see that. Phoenix Legacy taking to the inside of the building, throwing down the interceptor pylon, and just looking for a clean reset. Already on 3 purple, so you've got to be feeling confident. And with a 12th overall for the day, it's a nice showing by this trio. Sabs, I believe, one of the only female players here in the EMEA region pro league, so exciting to say the least. But just finding out a lot of information thanks to that 2x4. But just poke damage, right? You want to see it. Nags finding some good shots in the elimination feed onto Ascend, so they seem to be in trouble once again, Vicky.
Crazy to see Ascend also having a rough day when they were so consistently on top, where they broke records in this lobby. So to see them have a troublesome time does highlight that a lot of these squads right now that were at risk of relegations, that want a chance to perform in LAN, are hungry to be able to close out as many points as they possibly can with the limited days that we have left on our hands here for this first split. Bitfix Gaming playing on the outside of this fence line. Love how we talked about it before, but this is the squad in World's Edge where we saw them take out the Rampart. Bitfix now taking a much more usual approach to the compositions that we're exposed to, but playing on the outskirts of the wall here could be very scary if you're rotating early and have to deal with the teams that have the high ground right over you.
Looking a little bit like my high school geometry classes with the fence placements here. Little Max trying to take up a lot of space on the outskirts of the wall. It would be really interesting as I kind of glance into the map. You can see the Spiders choke point is in still as well for the next ring. But you know the ring that we've seen where it ends just on the outskirts of the left side of Command Center, where it's just atrocious, Vicky. I'm curious to see if we're going to get a pull of that nature.
That would be really interesting because then that would allow the squads that have the high ground outside of those bunker doors to have the advantage over the teams that are forced to rotate away from the wall. And you see Nightmare Esports actually are in a position where they can take a 50-50 rotational approach to that command center mouth, or if it continuously pulls more so towards the wall, specifically where Phoenix Legacy are holding that building, because we've seen final circles end there. They also will have a nice high to low ground approach when it comes to rotating away from the chaos that the other teams already inside those buildings and wall are gonna have to deal with.
Limek just needs 19 more damage to get that purple Evo shield, and a lot of these teams playing that mid-range, but Seven seems to have found themselves in RE45, so kitted out and ready for those close-range battles. It's just 18 squads remaining, and I feel like it's a little bit more of a slower pace. Sure, yeah, we're moving on to Ring 2, so I'd be excited to see just if someone will grab a beacon and give us a little inkling of what that Zone 3 will look like, but relatively smooth start here for Nightmare Esports, taking it slow and controlled.
Yeah, with some of these squads slowing things down, just making sure that they have these buildings that they can cut off other squads' rotation, hold some of these choke points like what Nightmare is doing right now, looking to their north side. I believe that's V2, as you can see in the overhead mini-map right now, that are trying to contest Nightmare. Sooner or later, though, they're going to have to either make their next move to get right past Nightmare, or they're going to get choked out on the edge of the circle. Then looking at the likes of GameWord, even Fire Beavers, Ascend, Aurora, who like to play on the edge of the circle, this gameplay is going to work and benefit them when it comes to getting the information necessary for that beacon to know where they should be rotating. Even if it makes them take their time, they're able to replicate all the medkits that they need, the shield bats if they need some extra shield bats, and even get the Evo shield all the way up to purple or red without having to engage in a fight themselves.
Yeah, but this is going to be a really tough rotation for them, because you can see the choke point where VCN is currently occupying. That is going to be the challenging part. They don't have the skyward dive to kind of fall back on and get them over and out through those chokeholds, so they have to go by foot. So excited to see kind of what they're doing. 3 Muppets right there playing the underside of where that beacon is, and the crafter as well, and looking pretty strong here, currently 9th place overall, having at least 1 elimination to their name thus far. Ascend able to kind of regain from that moment that we witnessed a little bit of a scuffle in the kill feed for them. So they're back up, I believe, relegated to a team of 2, or did they get their 3rd up? I know they're currently sitting on the edge, and the question is, will GameWard be able to make their way into this next zone? But I do love that the wall is still kind of in play here.
Yeah, that and the fact that 3 Muppets also were able to restabilize, very much like Ascend were too. With 3 Muppets having to get that res with so many other teams already in the area, they had to actually go right underneath the bridge quickly, which could also be scary for early rotations. Fire Beavers under a lot of fire. You talked about GameWord, who could get circle kept, but Fire Beavers wanted in on the party, and now they're going to be able to try to contest. You see OJ Ryan with the gold Evo shield to work with to restabilize just as quickly, but GameWord have the health advantage.
Black Hole coming out, Arcstar's in hand, Yolu, the Young Fragger going completely off here. Psycop still healthy, no damage for Psycop there, and Fire Beavers just like that, eliminated once again by GameWard. And I said it last time when I was watching this happen off screen, Vicky, while you and Rain were throwing down, if GameWard is going to take on Fire Beavers, they need to go on and win this game now.
That was disgusting from Yolu at the very end. The Black Hole obviously breaking the doors too, but then taking different off angles from GameWard, so that way they can just force Fire Beavers to funnel outside the doorway. I mean, you only have to look at that one doorway to just make sure you melt down Fire Beavers. So a rough game 5 here for Fire Beavers, out in 18th place, but a great start here for GameWard to make the rotation on the outside of that circle. VZN got whiff of that fight, but it looks like there's another squad right behind them that may have gotten whiff of it too.
VZN, Zane looking to get in on the action from this tree. Does get poked and prodded back because they are just going to have to find their way. They've been occupying this chokehold. Teams on the outskirts of them, but there's no real buildings available for them. So they are going to have to play the trees and just utilize the nature of the map, the topography that's natural to Storm Point. trying to find some off angles, maybe some nice little head peeks that they can get. They have plenty of ammo. I mean, Zane, 400 rounds looking like me out there in a pub. Jeez.
Sometimes you can't ever have enough, especially if your car is rocking the light ammo too. You don't want to split some of that space in your bag with a mix of heavy and light. So rocking all that light ammo for both the car and the G7 is definitely the way to go. And he's got that gold extended light mag too. So he is kitted up. This choke point though, I love the prediction that VZN were able to call with the circle pulling in their direction, but Gaming Gladiators, who are having a better of a time, at least this time around, not getting involved in some early fighting, like we mentioned, actually landing over not contesting Phoenix Legacy has allowed them to secure that southern zone, rather that southern side of the circle to the zone. So now looking at Ascend and what their next move is, they predicted that the circle was going to pull here too. Since they have the crypto, they were able to get the scan on the beacon, but they don't have a beacon available to them directly right now other than that beacon to the south. So they're just going to be playing the inside of this building without the Watson fences to line the outside of it.
Look, all I know, Vicky, is I'm ready for all of the teams that kind of were hoping that it was maybe going to pull towards the wall without the beacon information for them are now going to have to rotate down and throughout where VZN is. And Bitfix Gaming was one of the first ones to chow for a spot. That's going to be VZN in front of them. And look at the missile storms going out, arc stars, but nothing really solidifying this. It's going to open themselves up to all of the people in the lobby taking a line of sight on them, creeping, going to fall. And VZN still relatively healthy, so all they have to do is get a better LOS. And you can see right now VJ pulling up with the whip and full sending.
Oh, he is not playing around. He is looking to scoop up some of these kills as quickly as possible. And they did just that. VZN finishing out Bitfix Gaming as quick as they could before diverting their attention to the choke point right to their south, because they already had the information that there was a squad making the rotation from the outside of the circle, being game ward after taking that fight with Fire Beavers. So VZN needed to finish that fight versus Bitfix Gaming as quick as they could to prevent game ward from being able to rotate for free into that next choke point. And look at the placement of the Trident too, so that way they can have some makeshift cover when it comes to that incline of the hill that leads into that choke point.
Yeah, you can see the skirts of the map over there on the left side. Game Ward hasn't really committed to pushing through the choke. They're just kind of taking space on that northwestern side of the ring. Gaming Gladiators doing a really nice job of holding the south end. Turkish Stars on the outskirts, but it's Phoenix Legacy, 3 Muppets, Ember, Nightmare Esports still needing to connect and find space into the next zone. And Starterfight Esports is going to have to gatekeep at least 4 teams, which could provide a little bit of challenge for them. But you can see a couple skyward dives making a play as well. VZN is going to get landed on potentially, Vicky.
Oh, this is so scary too. With all these squads trying to use a skyward dive outside of wall, they don't know the action happening here. Like Nightmare Esports flying right over VZN, but they know that that's exactly where the squad ended up landing, into the lovely line of sights and the open arms of VZN. Nightmare Esports clean up what was left of Denze, and now they're just going to continuously hold this choke point. Sometimes it can be scary to rotate in that direction early on, but they were able to secure that and actually make sure that Bitfix Gaming wasn't a problem and Nightmare couldn't fly for free. Phoenix Legacy, one of the squads that are trying to rotate outside of the wall. You mentioned it before. This could be great for start of fight in looking to clean up even more KP after their W.
Look, I'm just waiting for VZN to turn the attention into these northern ring fights, because they've already been handed so many eliminations throughout the game, and if they want a piece of this, they could start now. But Imp already down, Alpha dropping stabs, going to have to stand out, but it's Ember just looking down on them, and there's only 1 member standing for Phoenix Legacy, and that's going to be all they wrote. Bavis getting a nice shield swap right there, but now the question is, you're going to have to turn your attention on to Starterfight Esports, that 3rd team, your map 4 winners, finding a lot of success and momentum and carrying it forward. But the fact is they haven't pushed in just yet, so able to get a nice clean reset here.
Yeah, at least they got some information off of that EMP right there too, so they noted that, you know, they didn't take as much damage as they were hoping they took off of that fight. They couldn't go in for a third party, so they're calling it quits. Let's jump into a listening with Ember to call out where they're rotating in from, especially since they have the information with the crypto drill.
Hold on. There's a rat sitting here. We can kill this rat here. We can kill this rat.
I'm walking.
Before. Take meds.
Yeah, there's meds here. I can drop you heavy. I dropped you a little bit of heavy.
Can I take? Okay. I need heavy.
Charge rifle from over there.
Break defenses. He's sitting on here. He's sitting literally right here. In the square.
Let me heal. Both of you can go.
He dropped. He left. He's out there. We need to look for another spot in zone. All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna get on my drone.
That's not in.
I think we might have to walk up behind the team or team fighting. Fighting here, fighting here.
Yeah, they're gonna take the Q.
Yeah, but that spot is still not in though.
You
I
shoot
think
them
we
on
need
height.
to look to kill this team, bro.
Shoot them on height.
You have
Is there a
multi
team?
kill? That's a team playing this.
There's a team playing here as well. There's a team playing there.
Can we maybe play the wall and walk in now? No, probably not.
No.
That's not in. This is in here, but then we have to fight this.
Yeah, I think we just ate right, bro. I think that's what we have to. Do you have nades? You got nades?
I have no nades, no nades, no nades.
Two nades. Take one out, take one out.
There's a box here, there's a box here. Wait, one second. No
You have
nades.
TMP, we have to go now. You have TMP on me.
No EMP, no EMP, no drone, no EMP. I'm walking forward now. They're not looking right now.
They have a team in the back. They have a team in the back.
Right in the front.
I'm
Stay from me.
Shooting this. Walk up to the tree. Take space on them. Take space on them.
They're fighting in the choke, I think.
Yeah, they are.
Helping
Hold them.
gun.
Hold them out. They're not in.
Helping
They're
gun.
not.
I'm getting on my drone to get
Yeah,
info.
can you check over to the left so we can make sure?
Yeah,
I'm walking up here. They're fighting.
no EMP.
They're hard fighting.
Okay.
Just watch them.
I have EMP very soon. We need to aim it.
Knock out.
I'm EMPing. I think we push it.
Push it.
Push it.
See that? Last guy.
That's right. Don't die.
Cracked him.
Oh, my bad.
He's one dead.
No, I died. That's me.
Wait,
on me.
Oh, he's not dead.
That's me. Take it. I need a better gun.
It's fine. We have really good spot. Don't come here.
Hey, Vin. Bobby, medic.
Almost cracked him.
I'm moving up here.
Might be solo.
No, I saw multiple, I think. Oh yeah, there's a solo in the game.
Might be
Okay,
solo.
I'm looking. Yeah, he's solo.
grabbing
I think he's solo.
Grabbing different gun first.
I'm getting into the drone. I'm looking.
No, do at least.
One gun outside right now.
Yeah,
One
one
gun
guy died. He got finned. No, almost finned. The duo is playing here.
I'm swapping gun.
11 only.
Yeah,
50.
What is playable here?
We're gonna have to hug right and walk in. I mean, we can look back and get the KP for free right
yeah,
now.
I mean we get the KP.
So much information taking off of that listen, and I love hearing Ember pop off in the way that they did, but also the comms noting when to shield stop, don't die, I died. It was funny here for Ember, but they were able to restabilize, and with 5 squads left here in the lobby tip, we got Ascend, Ember, 3 Muppets, Demon Gladiators who have circle advantage, and V2 now only left as a solo for Joke and his RE45.
Ascend on board with a fight right now against 3 Muppets. Lufka looking to deal the final blows. They do just that. So now you've got Ember, Gaming Gladiators, the Rat in the form of V2, because V2 was pushing into Ember, but Gaming Gladiators, who completely called the zone, taking up so much space, was able to pressure V2 away from them, which is kind of Ember's saving grace.
Oh, now V2 is going into the open arms of Gaming Gladiators, and we get a nice overhead of a lot of the action. Ascend rotating from the north side, playing on the edge of the circle. On the opposite end of Ember, though, could be great news for Ember because now they could try to go in for a third party. Gaming Gladiators taking this fight with Ascend.
We asked where Ascend was, and they are showing exactly where they are. It's nade warfare out here as Kashera just trying to find an LOS with the Havoc without the turbocharger, but is getting poked and prodded from behind. They must withstand pressure from all sides here. Lufka inside the Beast of the Hunt, getting scans every 3 seconds to provide the teammates information, but I don't know if they're going to be able to withstand Ember and Gaming Gladiators.
I see Ascend falling incredibly low right now. Luca trying to restabilize with only a shield cell. Kashira gets set down, and Luca now having to play as a rat for Ascend. Can he get out of the line of sight of Gaming Gladiators with Ember helping him out?
Ember with the health advantage. Fricks losing out on the shields, but Bavis and Young Hong Kong both able to deal a lot of damage to withstand, so Fricks can get the nice reset, utilizing the fences to kind of occupy space inside the zone. The question is, the pinch is coming to shove, and it's Ascend that's inside that sandwich.
And Ember noting now that there's 2 knocks right here allows them to know that they have the advantage, that there is a rat left out of the 3 squads in this game right now. And Gaming Gladiators are looking to try to take a side angle to try to figure out if they can get that last straggler that is Lufka, or if Ember are going to have the advantage with the natural landscape that the rocks provide for extra cover.
Lufka on that palm tree, like, don't even look over here. Don't even look at me. Focus on yourselves. This is not a fight that I want to be in the dead center of, but Sunset, Leogree, and Hardeki looking to find some information. You can see the missile swarms going out. but no one really committing just yet. My question is, I think Lufka might be out of heals or just trying to go radio silent on their end.
Doesn't want to reveal exactly where they're at right now, especially with Gaming Gladiators not seeing them in the rather in their own line of sight currently. Hardeki climbing up, but putting himself in Hong Kong's line of sight, having to take a nice side angle. You can see the smoke grenades out. No seers left, by the way, in this lobby currently right now. You have the crypto drone from Young Hong Kong that can start off this fight with an EMP, but he doesn't have it on board right now. So they have the high ground currently, and Ember are going to take this for free. They're going to try to counter rotate around Gaming Gladiators.
This could be the call to win it all if they can get a good LOS on Gaimin, throw down some damage, but it's going to be Sunset that finds all of the damage at first, does get cracked, but able to crack 2 of the members of Ember. Now looking to take advantage of this fight and deal the finishing blows.
Oh, Ember gonna take it out, but Ascend still managed to rat their way to second place. Lufka coming in second for that team, and Gaming Gladiators needed the W, and they finally get it in game number 5.
Look, Rain Day, you asked, do rats have their place? They do. The importance of them. The fact that Lufka could just kind of disengage from that situation, play low, and just be like, don't look at me, don't look at me. If they don't see me, it's not real. I can just pretend that it's like the monsters in my closet. You know, if you just cover up on the blankets, no one's going to find you. But that was beautifully done to rat yourself to second place.
Especially in the spot that you were able to find, too. You're out of the line of sight of both the squads that have you pinched right there. He couldn't go for a scan. He would reveal where he is. That would have been free KP for either squad left between Gaming Gladiators and Ember. But I liked the counter rotate coming in from Ember's attempt to try to see if they could find a nice off angle. But then Gaming Gladiators got the win off the trade first, only losing out on the Bangalore shield real quick. And then I liked the suppressed cover that Sunset came in to actually swoop up and help out that straggler. So Gaming Gladiators taking that W was well needed to prevent themselves from getting put into the relegations, but also to try to boost up some confidence. They called out that circle since ring number 1, and that has to be highlighted.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's beautifully said, because they did hold that space and no one chowed them for the southwestern side of the zone, which really proved critical there. I know Game Ward, VZN, a lot of teams looking to kind of take up space just north of them, but no one made a play for where GG was, and they came into this map number 5 in 20th place, so this was extremely well needed for them.
Yeah, they had, what, 2 points to their name before this game that they just took the W on, and Hardeki popped off the way he needed to pop off too. I feel like the Hardeki is one of those confident players where he needs to build up momentum when it comes to that confidence, and since they had a pretty rough start to the day so far, it's better late than never, as I always say. I think he secured 5 KP at the very end, which allowed Gaming Gladiators to clean up the rest of the lobby and secure at least 9 KP before taking that dub.
Look, we've seen teams in North America find success in maps number 5 and 6, specifically NRG, to come back and really climb up those leaderboards. So if GG can do just that, I know they tweeted out this morning, do or die. This is a moment where we must do everything in our power. So you mentioned they're very momentum-based, mental-heavy gamers. So if they can go and get some positivity from this and just ride that high into map number 6, would love to see them climb the leaderboard for today.
Yeah, I mean, it was day number 4, I believe we saw him have a pop-off moment, and after that, we all were looking at Gaming Gladiators as the squad that could now start ramping up as the rest of the EMEA days were coming to us. But again, it was about that final circle positioning that really elevated their gameplay, allowed them to clean up all the stragglers that came in from the wall, because this is where we saw a lot of the action go down.
Definitely was the wall. It all started in Fire Beavers. This fight in particular, I was like, bro, they're coming in. Once again, Game Ward, very hot and heavy with the ability to take out Fire Beavers without taking a significant amount of damage, and VZN having to do everything they could to fight for their positioning. Reply Totem, rather lackluster throughout this game, but making their presence known with that interesting charge rifle per se.
Yeah, the charge rifle that we saw a lot of teams utilize, of course, trying to exit out of the wall, though, was doomed for a lot of the teams that didn't have the opportunity to use that skyward dive. And even if they did, like Nightmare, they were inevitably going to land on a team that was already holding a choke point, where we saw a lot of action coming out from ZN. Currently, you saw the 3 Muppets also having a pretty rough game, having to play that out as a duo, but Ascend, who held the inside of that building, still managed to find their way into that final circle.
It was this area of the game in particular where we got the listen in from Ember, and hearing them navigate these fights that they were taking. You know, we've got to ape right, we know there's a rat, let's go ahead and jump onto them. They do just that. Then the Ascend fight with 3 Muppets, cleaning it up with ease, and their rotation towards the south side, where they just found themselves pinched in the the focus of every team in the lobby, and V2 going out early, trying to save themselves, but Gaming Gladiators coming in at 15th in that moment, climbing their way out of 20th with a lot of success.
Especially after the performance in the game previous to that, right? Trying to get a 50-50 done on Phoenix Legacy and Northpad. They finally landed in Checkpoint. They got that free rotation through the south side, and they end up with 9 KP and the dub on top of it all. 21 points to their name after taking that W. And Ascend still may not have been getting the W here for today like we were expecting, but still remaining consistent. Top 3 getting second in that Game 5.
I know I was relatively hard on Ascend, but they are consistently doing well here. I guess I was just so excited and knowing that they've been breaking records, but jumping on over to 11 through 20 is started by Esports in 11th. Phoenix Legacy still there as well, but it's Pioneers, it's Foot Esports, Fire Beavers, teams that have the ability to throw down and take the lead. The question is, will they come out swinging in map number 6?
We're gonna have to see as we take a look at the series results currently right now. Game Word are still on top now. Aurora by 1 point. It's still so incredibly close, but now you currently see Ascend right next to Fire Beavers by 1 point. First all the way down to 6, even 7th and 8th, I would say right here, even all the way down to V2. It is so incredibly close for these top 9 teams to be able to take it on top of each other.
Look, it's all the teams from Group C finding success today, but it's A. Group A, this is their last play day, so they need to throw down, find all the success they can. But hey, more action is yet to come. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, game number 6.
WD Black is the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone, to ALGS EMEA Match Day 8. We've got Groups A versus C, and Gaming Gladiators just fended off an entire lobby to get the dub there in match number 5. I'm Spider Tip. Joined alongside me is the lovely Vicky Kitty, and we've had the pleasure of bringing you all the action, but it's not over. We have one more game, Vicky.
Yeah, I'm excited. Game number 6, especially with Gaming Gladiators coming in swinging for game number 5. What more do they have in store for us as we go into our final game of the day? So much action and such close quarters action with a lot of these squads trying to fight to stay in the top 5 at the very least here with such close points that we have currently.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch a lot of these mid games. Sometimes they were a little slow there on World's Edge when we had like the fragment ending, everyone occupying a building, trying to play the long haul. But today, there were so many fights, so many chokeholds, VZN going incredibly strong there. But now, the question is, who will come out on top? Since Ascend is not really controlling all of the points at this point in time, they had, triple digits on the last grouping of this. So now, a plethora of teams looking to fight for the top of the leaderboard, and it is incredibly close.
I love highlighting that because Ascend kind of taking a step back, saying, you know what, we can't take it all from them. You know, we got to sometimes give it to the other ones, the other squads that are looking to at least compete in LAN or avoid getting relegated out here. Ascend still remain consistent though, don't get me wrong, and they're still looking to try to take at least a dub in this lobby after they were able to take 4 dubs. Day number 6, breaking records out here with a triple-digit match point that they were able to rock on that day. They're still pretty consistent. They're still able to sit in the top 3, top 5 situation here in Group A versus C. But as we move on to this final game tip, is there any squads right now that you have on your radar that you're looking to see perform?
Oh, I just want to see Game Ward keeping up the domination. Every time we cut to them, they're in a little bit of a skirmish. 90% of the time it's over there with Fire Beavers, your map 1 winners. And I was like, hey, why is Fire Beavers not really having a lot of success throughout some of these maps? Why can't they get some more eliminations? Well, that's because Game Ward has been the absolute thorn in their side. And look at this map, Vicky. And I think it was really smart for Gaming Gladiators to drop down into Checkpoint, not take that contest, because what happens the moment they don't do that? They get a map win. So now, excited as they are currently inside that next zone, should have a relatively free rotation. But man, Scars out in Fish Farm is gonna have to go the distance.
Yeah, they're gonna have a bit of some land to travel through, and I like how you highlighted Gaming Gladiators and the fact that they didn't want to take that 50-50 from Phoenix Legacy. My only thought to that and why they tried doing that, at least game number 4, I was watching as you and Rain Day were taking us through the action, was that either they wanted to get some early KP to contest for the beacon that they didn't have access to here in Checkpoint, or you know what? They wanted to try to see if they could take their chances to see if they could bully them out of that job spot and then maybe get all the loot to themselves here in Checkpoint and there, but it didn't work out for them, and like you said, and like we also saw in game 5, not trying to contest them, allowed them to take the W in that previous game, and with this map also benefiting them, this could be another game win for Game Ward, or rather for Gaming Gladiators if they're able to try to take it.
Yeah, Game Ward coming into today in 19th place overall. Now, friendly reminder of what's on the line for these teams. It's regional finals. You've seen APAC North, you've seen APAC South and South America go the distance as their regional finals are already over. But it's not over for North America and EMEA. We have 1 week until that kind of final showdown to see who's going to be in the Split 1 playoffs, and Game Ward wants to solidify themselves with a chance to make a play for playoffs. And Down Beast, a great start to do it. You can find all the loot, but it looks like Yolu, who's been on a tear today, gets inklings of a team out there near the mill. And when Yolu's got you in your sights, this could be dangerous.
And you know who lands over by the mill? It's gotta be VZN. You highlight Yolu being an absolute beast today, and another player that's been popping off is Zane from VZN. So with the mill having the loot that they need, as well as the beacon on the outside of the build, so for VZN to work with, they're going to be able to have all that information advantage. Game would also have a beacon and down B, so it's not like they have to fight for that information. They can kind of hold the edge of the circle, and they can expect other teams like Phoenix Legacy to go in the middle of this rotation, and with all the noise that the Trident makes, they're going to have that information too.
Yeah, we do know that Phoenix Legacy does that little bit of that split drop that we see some teams do in North America, with Imp kind of going for the Trident to make sure that they have the ability to rotate throughout Storm Point rather freely. Sure, yeah, they're getting poked and prodded, but not really going under some significant damage.
Yeah, although they're attacking all the attention in the lobby. Oh, this is not worth it. They're literally one. They need to get out of the Trident right now. Imp goes down, and Alpha Drop is about to meet him. Not as well. If he could get a nice off angle so that way he can pop the shield bat. Sabs also gets out of their line of sight. Isn't able to pop that shield bat just as quick. And Ascend are eating this up for free.
I'm just gonna stay silent here, Vicky. I did not say anything to the extent of cursing that team by any means. Was not me. Find someone else, but start a fight, taking the upstairs of this building. You can see the EMP coming out. Watson fences going down, and the little elf. Now Ascend answering back. You can see just how much damage they've been doing, whether it's Phoenix Legacy, whether it's Start a Fight now out.
And this was all initiated by Phoenix Legacy, who, by the way, are still alive. Certified can't say the same, who are out of this lobby. The last squad, rather the first squad to go out here. And now with Phoenix Legacy able to restabilize, able to get the res on Sabs, Alpha Drop is taking the Yeet Cannon out of that entire mess and looking to loot up as much as they can, because again, like you mentioned, this is a squad that likes to take the Trident to quickly rotate outside of North Pad, and with this circle pulling more so towards where Ascend like to hang out, where Turkish Stars are in the middle of rotating on the outside of Jurassic Jurassic Park, Phoenix Legacy need to help reset.
Ooh, Sabs with the 200 IQ fence play marking off the grav cannon. So once the res comes into play, if anyone wants to hit that, no worries, they're going to hit the Watson fences. You do have some teams just on the north side that are going to see this res go off. So now a target on their back, and they're all relatively split as they were forced to disengage in different directions.
Yeah, they don't want to funnel together. Sabs is unfortunately in their line of sight with little to no cover to play on the outside of Cenote Caves, but at least they got Imp up, and Imp managed to get outside of the line of sight of the squad who took the Skyward Dive to take control over that Pride Walk. I believe that was Fire Beavers that got involved, and now Sabs going down means that she's going to have to just crawl to that choke point, maybe see if Phoenix Legacy can help them out, or is this going to be the green light for Fire Beavers to get involved in this fight? We know that there's other teams in the area. If we could get an overhead map, they aren't able to help out Sabs, but they can at least try to get her banner and maybe try to get that res in Cenote Caves.
When you say other teams, all I can think of is Game Ward. They've been the thorn in the side. They'd probably do so thus far here today, but Aurora currently sitting in second place, making their name well known here. Formerly known as Major Pushers, I believe, as Team Empire as well, but there's the map that you've asked for. Game Ward still over in Down Beast. They have the beacon available to them, and with the ring just on the outskirts of Down Beast, I don't believe that they are going to rotate in anytime soon. They want that information.
Yeah, they can take their time to see where that next circle is going to be pulling. We don't have that information in the overhead minimap right now, but what we do know is that it was Aurora who had made their appearance into that fight that Fire Beavers had knocked Sabs in. Also see that Phoenix Legacy has managed to bring Sabs back with that crypto drone over in Cenote Cave. So they've had a rough game so far in this game 6, but it is not over yet for this team. 17 squads left here, and a lot of these squads have already taken control over these buildings where they're predicting where the circle is going to be pulling.
Map number 6, Gaming Gladiators. Over here, still in checkpoint. Another team has entered the fray, and Sunset has spotted you. So the question is, how will they approach? Leogri taking to the high ground alongside Hardeki, trying to get a good LOS. Does have the Beast of the Hunt available to them. See some thermites going out for some early damage. Maybe it's going to force them off the high ground. It looks like that team that kind of came up on GG going to force themselves to disengage, which I respect. You don't want to go out early on, especially in map number 6 when we have regional finals on the horizon. Every point is going to be well-earned, well-fought for. You just want to find yourself inside that top 20 for the chance to play, to get to Split 1 playoffs. And this is kind of a nice positioning for them. They can hold this choke area. Be rather interesting if a team decided to zip up on them.
I do believe there is a team off the low ground. You can see the pings coming in, even though Gaming Gladiators, but you can see the footsteps. I was going to say, they don't have the seer, so that way they have the heartbeat sensor, but they do have the footsteps getting picked up by Leogri on that Bloodhound. So they know that there was a squad that was trying to creep up behind them. Who could it be who's rotating from that north pad area? We know that 3 Muppets was in the area. I believe it was KCP who were right next door to 3 Muppets at one point. It looks like they are taking a different angle to rotate away, and Gaming Gladiators are now coming up on a squad from the low ground.
Bang ult going out from Sunset, and Leogri throwing down so much damage while not taking a lot themselves. So this could be a really well-timed fight for them. Sunset already finding the first down onto Plum, so this could be 3 Muppets on the other side for them in a 3v2 scenario with Gaiman mostly healthy, frag grades going out. I mean, Vicky, this is all you could ask for. Gaiman carrying the success from map number 5, just really laying it on them.
Oh, he managed to pop the shield at the very end, but Gaming Gladiators need to restabilize just as quick after they're able to eliminate 3 Muppets. We know who's going to be rotating from down Beast, none other than Game Ward, who are getting involved right next. Saw them right in front of Leogri, but he was busy real quick trying to restabilize. Now they're just trying to force their way on the outside of the circle. Can Sunset pull off that syringe before Game Ward are trying to fully send it to them on the outside of that circle?
Bro, they yeeted, they disengaged. They were like, we got to get out of Dodge. You saw the black hole coming in from Yolu. But the fact is, Gaming Gladiators pushed into the zone further to disengage. Now, hopefully they were able to get some heals off those bodies, or maybe they were like, hey, let's go hit a bat, get some shields going in, and then throw back in. But Psycop does have the Rolling Thunder still available.
16 squads left, and Game Ward holding that #1 spot. They are out for blood. They want as much KP as they can work with to ensure that they take that first place spot. for day number 8 here in the EMEA region. They're just going to play on the outside of the circle while Gaming Gladiators are going to be taking a huge chunk of damage with this next circle closing in. They were able to reset, and they have a hard decky for the skyward dive just in case they want to fly right over their heads.
This is really interesting. You've got Game Ward and Gaming Gladiators both coming into match day number 8 in 19th and 21st place. So both of these teams facing relegation potentially. And we were talking about it was the storyline. Only so many teams can make it into that split one playoffs, but you have to get through the regional finals thus far. And with Game Ward coming in incredibly strong here today, they're doing what we asked them to do.
They're out here trying to perform as they rotate away from the circle, making sure to keep track of their 6. Gaming Gladiators have not moved from the replicator. They're okay taking this damage because with the replicator, they'll just be able to get extra med kits. Again, they have that skyward dive that Hard Decky could use to just get him out of the circle, something that Game Ward doesn't have. So they're forced to rotate no matter what. And with some of the noise that was made over by Down Beast, they have to be careful to make sure that there's no other squad in the area that can contest them in this direction. They saw that BZN were landing in Mill. They were able to trade just a little bit, poke some shots. Wouldn't be surprised if BZN is still at the Mill. Why would they move from this spot when they have the information of where the circle is going to be pulling, since there is that beacon on the outside of Mill? So they have the information that the other squads are trying to fight for with the crypto drones.
Very interesting. I would love to see Game Ward kind of get to the rooftop of the Mill and play that area. They do have the grav lift available to take high ground immediately and play on top of VZN. And if they could also utilize the Bloodhound to kind of navigate over to that beacon to hit for an even further information, it would be a little more challenging. Like you mentioned, at least Crypto can utilize the drone to scan the beacon instantly, giving them all the information much more safely. A little bit of action popping off in the limb feed. Fire Beavers taking down a member of Heroes, but let's cut on over to Heroes. And Aurora Ranches taking a lot of damage, but Mollywan on the Catalyst able to reinforce the doors and secure their back. Basically, Cleavy does have the charge rifle with the Bruiser as a scope, so that's a little interesting, but hey, it's working. Now you got that purple Evo shield.
Sometimes you can't complain if you find at least a 2-time scope without finding that purple sniper scope that you want to work with here. Or maybe you don't have access to the replicator because it's getting contested by the other teams in the area. And Aurora going to be able to take these off angles. Skyward dive coming in right in front of them. Nice crack with the G7 Scout. Talk about using that 2-time scope. They got the charge rifle that they can beam them with, and they actually get the knock onto Jerovic out here. Scars in some trouble now, having to play this out as a duo. Gets a second one. Hyarka gonna meet Jerovic on the ground.
Bro, is Aurora playing Duck Hunt or what out here, bro? That is not good for Scars in any way, shape, or form, and they're still maintaining their space. Fire Beaver is going to be the one to eliminate Scars as well, and looks like Impulse is your new kill leader of the lobby, so good to see that Fire Beavers haven't run into Game Ward just yet, but Game Ward does need to make their rotation from outside of that ring. The question is, who are they going to run into?
See Aurora playing off this back end, and they have a squad right to their south, which is why we saw the panic skyward dive coming in from Scars. It's BitFix Gaming that are holding that edge, as Fire Beavers are holding the other side of the edge of the circle, where we saw Phoenix Legacy desperately rotate away from Cenote Caves after getting sabs right back into this game. But this is a great spot for Fire Beavers to hold on this high ground specifically, because they're going to be able to see the action exiting out of Mill, like we've noted VZN and Game Ward to be rotating away from, as well as the fact that Aurora have been making a lot of noise with the charge rifle and the G7 in the building that's on the other side.
Yeah, but I'm not pushing a building with a Catalyst reinforcing those doors. I've been watching a lot of teams dabble with Catalyst as they're still trying to find their way in that competitive where she belongs, how you can utilize them to the most of their abilities, but doing incredibly well thus far. Aurora, a lot of experience with Catalyst, but a little bit of a beacon of hope. You can see the res coming in, and Taskmaster with a great LOS on that player, trying to get inside the IMC Armory.
Yeah, right now, with Heroes trying to get that player right back underneath the armory, here comes BitFix Gaming. Max couldn't get away in time out of the line of sight of Aurora. Now that allows Aurora to get involved in this fight, but BitFix need to look to their backs, because with that res, that means that Heroes can get the free loot that they need to restabilize.
And Joe's passive coming in on the Bangalore double time. He yeeting themselves out of this. At this point, they're just going to play their life. No time to heal. Heroes also going to fall. Missile swarms incoming. You're going to get stunned up a little bit. And now all they wrote, you cannot get out of the LOS. It's going to be Aurora with the finishing touches onto Bitfix Gaming. Now 11 squads remaining. This could be a game where Aurora doubles down and finds another win here today.
They would be the only squad to be able to take more than one win today here too, and they are hungry. They are cleaning up KP. Heroes, believe, also out as well. So with so many of these squads currently trying to take control over the south side of where the circle is going to be pulling, you can see Reply Totem have the high ground, but they're playing as a duo. They try to cut off Aurora, who try to take a cheeky angle. They get the crack, but they can't fully send it on, especially since they have another squad in their line of sight.
Good bit of damage, but you mentioned the other squad, and they are going to be the reason that Jazz falls. Now Amaz on the roof, all alone, and Aurora taking a lot of damage from that team as well. The question is, they are in Group C, coming in today with 76 points, only Vexed and Ascend just on top of them, but they have that match day in hand, so they could make a play for the very top of the leaderboard. And it starts here in game number 6, currently number 1 in the lobby with 53 points, and able to get out of that precarious situation, restabilize themselves, and take a lot of shots as they have that team rotating in on the upper area. But there is that rat still just on the building, also going to have to make a play for the next zone.
I love this decision, though, to make this rotate at this time right now. Molly1 falls incredibly low and only has a shield cell, so work with... Oh, he got deleted by Savs with the Sentinel now. You see, Rio coming in right now. Aurora now having to play around the wall of the Catalyst. It was the Kraber and the mix together of the Sentinel that completely annihilated that player. That was so unlucky, but better yet for Forge as they claim this high ground right now. They know that there was another player that took some shots at them, but they have the extra loot that they can work with Ro having the Kraber still.
Extra loot, but I got a little bit of a Krabby Patty here in the hands of Ro, so excited to see what they can do. And honestly, Vicky, I'm starting to feel a little bit like Onset here. I keep hyping up these teams, saying they're gonna go the distance, make a play for the top of the leaderboard, and the next thing, they go down. Now Game Ward beginning their rotation in, and it's gonna be an uphill battle. A nice use of the grab lift to evade those frags, but unfortunately still going to fall. Now Psychop and Aimbot having to deal all of the damage themselves, but falling incredibly low. They're going to have to reposition, try to restabilize, but I don't know if that team on the inside is going to give them that ability. A nice use of the Arc Star coupled with the scan to buy them some time.
And you saw Nasty also get the knock with the Kraber out here. Aimbot trying to use a hipfire on the Bolt, but now only leaving one member of Game Ward as they get deleted here. They're out, and Foot Esports continue on with their defense inside this building. They've been holding the inside of this building for so long without actually putting themselves in a vulnerable position, using that crypto drone to get the beacon that's right above their heads. They know that there was BCN on the side of Mill where the circle is going to be pulling, and they've been able to stave off any sort of damage from the squads that have been trying to fight for control inside that building. Being able to take care of Game Ward is huge here, because that means that Game Ward and Aurora are no longer in this lobby.
Very interesting per se. We see Fire Beavers, you see VZN, Pioneers, as well as V2 alongside Foot Esports. But Foot Esports, I feel like if they can hold this building and no one goes in to try and chow for their building, their god spot in a sense, this could be their game to win, Vicky. And honestly, it would be really nice for me to say, hey, one of my teams to watch really succeeded here. I'm not cursing anyone anymore.
And also allow Fire Beavers to elevate their way in the top 3 right now. Let's jump into a listening with Foot to see what their next plan is with a mobile race pod right in front of their face.
In the back.
Doesn't matter. Spawn is standing right side of us.
Where the 3 teams are?
There's one team up there. I see an enemy over there. One team in the building, and I think one team on the rock, like further up.
Yeah. Okay.
Like up here. Yeah, up here. They're gonna run down here. They're gonna run down here.
Okay.
Good if this team is aping us. I'm gonna call back. I'm using my EMP. I'm gonna get my EMP ready. Give me EMP ready for that.
One nade. Is there more nades?
I know. Wait. Here.
Oh, they're playing the rope. You can ping on me. You can maybe knock him. They're just playing inside. I think I saw a horizon.
They're probably gonna play here later.
Yeah.
Play that wall later.
Yeah. That's where we
One is on the rock.
50 packs.
Play on the outside here. One is up here. Two close up on this side, okay? Look what I'm pinging.
Is he even in there?
1, 2.
Yeah. Yes.
Full 2 teams. It's right outside of us.
Yeah, people are gonna play that wall. We have.
Okay.
Boys, be ready when they slide down. When this team slides down, we...
Take 2 there, 1 here.
We're not alone, squad. Got a bogey.
Lovely comms coming in from Foot Esports, making their next move, but also predicting where the other teams want to fight and where they want to approach right here. Fire Beavers, though, without the safety of the building, are currently in the line of sight of BZN, who not only land over by Mill, but they're also the squad that has the ability to have the high ground to look at all the action happening right below their feet.
Look at all the space that VZN is looking to occupy. You heard it in the comms from Foot. They were saying this team is going to play the high ground, and they are doing just that. Taskmaster still alive from Fire Beavers, but unfortunately going to fall just there. The fact is, they were able to survive for this long. I don't know if this res is going to go off in time. This is going to be very damaging from the ring, but able to slide out just in time. Now turning their attentions onto Foot, finding a nice shield crack, but VZN just biding their time and taking up all the space.
Yeah, the moment V2 have to exit out of here to not get the circle damage, they need to get into the air, but into the line of sight of Foot, who are not in the line of sight currently of BZN. It's just going to be chaotic. Here comes the EMP. Foot want to secure as much KP as they possibly can work with since they've been playing this game so patiently.
V2 now eliminated, so it's in a V of 3v3 VZN versus Foot Esports, and all the damage going out, but they're going to have to make their way, and VZN is split with a lot of different LOSs and some cheeky angles, trying to destroy that ult, but now not last alive, Vicky.
BZN had the game position advantage, and they take our final game of the day with the kill leader to their name here too. They worked with so much there in the mill, and they were able to continuously hold that defensive position on the high ground without trying to overcommit too much.
Yeah, that was really interesting. You heard them say, VZN, we know they're playing the roof. We do not want to challenge them for that rain day, but what do you think?
I love the way that they took that fight. I mean, VZN just had better positioning. They had the outskirts of the building, and sometimes the building is so good for the first moment that you need it, which is throughout maybe the chaos of the fighting. But when you have to leave it and the circle doesn't go your way, it does end up maybe being a hindrance because you're so predictable. Your movement can only come from one place, and it gives VZN a lot of angles on them coming out there. But it was a great performance across a lot of teams, Vicky. I mean, that circle, we were tracking it. I was looking and going, well, okay, they're alive, they're dead, they could pass them. If they get these amount of points, they could win. I mean, there was a lot happening in Game 6.
Yeah, it was intense too. Even talking about the squads like Aurora, who got dinged in 2 different directions by a Sentinel from Sab's hands, and then the Kraber in the hands of another player too. We saw Nasky light up the feed with the Kraber himself. So there was a lot of action happening on the outside where no team wanted to fully commit. But in a circle like that where VZN have the high ground, they have the natural line of sight, getting out of the line of sight advantage by the hillside, and then not put themselves in a vulnerable position between 2 squads. That was the game-winning position for them to hold. And before that game, I believe VZN was sitting in 8th place in the overall standings for today. So that is going to allow them to elevate themselves in the overall standings.
VZN started out their Pro League journey with 1 point. They ended up with 7 points their next outing, but then they made a switch. They had a day off, and they came back with 18 points and then 16 points. Those are good spots. If VZN can mirror that here with a game in hand coming from Group C, being able to play again in day 9, they're going to have a chance, and they certainly will be in the mix to at least stay in Pro League, at least be in that regional final tip. So VZN winning that, it means more than just taking that game. It means that they might have given themselves a chance to really have either a chance to move forward or at least to stay and have a chance in the regional final.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's the teams coming in from the preseason qualifiers. That's where VZN kind of started, right? They came in, played their first match day as a duo to be able to bring in Nags. And from then, I feel like it was just kind of finding the warm-up, right? A little bit of a slow burn. They needed to kind of get the wheels churning, find some success. We got to bring Nags on the broadcast, talk to them, and you could just hear that he said himself, you know, I wasn't even going to play anymore. I was pretty much done, but this is the team that I wanted to find success with, and I'm glad that they are.
Element 6, Case, Winnie, and Slayers, and Nags, formerly a team. Now Lifen coming into Element 6. Lifen getting, I think, taken out of that roster. Nags coming over to VZN, taking this route. A little bit of a harder route, Vicky, but it ended up working out for them. Game Ward, also a team that could be close to a top 3 finish here. Almost, I think, guaranteed a top 3 finish with how well that they've been playing. But Esports, too, a team that Tiff had highlighted. Vicky, those squads performing, and they certainly needed it today.
Absolutely, especially with Foot, their composition rocking the crypto, having the beacon right above their heads. They denied the opportunity from BZN a lot of the times when it came to them trying to get that information too, but they needed to stay put, especially since they had the high ground here. We also saw a lot of action early on for Phoenix Legacy to have to restabilize not once, but twice, getting Sabs up at the very end. They had to get another one of their players back up too after a pretty risky skyward dive, but they lived basically almost to the very end right there too, and that's another squad that definitely needed to perform today.
Aurora as well leading in this. Did they maintain their lead, Tiff?
That is the question. Can they withstand all of the teams that were finding success? And with Ascent not in triple digits, it really opened the door for a lot of these teams to vie for the points. You see Game War just 3 points shy of Aurora coming into this, and they needed to do what they had to make sure they could vie for the top of the leaderboard. Or was it Fire Beavers? So many options with Fire Beavers not going out to Game Ward early on. It gave them a fighting chance to pick up eliminations and fight for another win. Unfortunately, it didn't come out. But V2, VZN just holding steady.
Foot Esports had a nice performance. VZN would ultimately take it. They had this high ground and they could shoot into the building. And it made it very easy work. It was tough though in terms of trying to hold off against Foot Esports, but that was what obviously V2 were able to do. It just was too tough of a rotation. Look at those angles. They could shoot twice. You can only look one direction there, and Zane would even wrap around the corner to provide all 3 places on your body. You can get shot by VZN at the same time. Foot Esports got shot by them at the same time. Big game there, 20 points. Obviously, that 6-point switch when you end up getting first place plus the 3 kills ends up really separating their performance from Foot Esports in that last moment. But V2, Fire Beavers, Pioneers, and even Game and Gladiators, after winning a game and then here popping off enough to get 5 kills, 3 placement points in 6. That was a strong showing from Game and Gladiators, who we almost were waiting with bated breath when would they wake up. Kind of like they gave us the NRG treatment here, Tiff.
Hey, I mentioned it briefly. I was like, we know there are some teams in NA that are known to kind of warm up throughout the last 2 games, so glad to see them here. We saw them in a little bit of a scuffle outside of North Pad where they had to push back into the zone to kind of regain before getting third party, but Phoenix Legacy also finding themselves within the top 10. Reply Totem of 5 eliminations for 7 points in 10th. The question is, what do our 11th through 20th teams kind of look like here?
Well, taking a look at it, check it out. 11th place in terms of the overall game. Vicky, maybe not what you would expected in terms of the total standings, but this is just, you know, game 6. Aurora getting 5 kills, even though they placed out of 11th. That's very Aurora-esque in terms of how good they are at team fighting.
Yeah, they got the KP, but they didn't get the placement needed. And at the very end, with such a close, top 6, top 7 squads that we had in terms of points in general, this could have actually made Aurora fall down to 3rd place here, if my math is correct, with VZN having that pop-off game with 8 KP to their name with the dub. So very intense situation here. Without the placement, though, from Aurora in this game, it actually could have costed them.
Let's take a look at what happened today. At the top, it is VZN here with the win, who eke out over Fire Beavers with just 2 points. The difference is in the last moments of the last game. VZN take a 1st place win, and that is huge for them. They were 4th last time they met with B versus C. In terms of A versus C, they were 3rd, so they notoriously are getting points here in their last 2 games, and they go from 18 to 16 to now 25. Tiff, give me a reaction here to this leaderboard.
I'm kind of speechless. I'm not gonna lie, Rain Day. Seeing VZN edge Fire Beavers out by 2 points alone. But if you look through 1st through 6th place, only 6 points separate them. This is incredibly interesting because anything could have happened in game number 6. It was just basically survival of the fittest. Had Fire Beavers kind of made that rotation in and survived in game number 6, they would be sitting on the top of the leaderboard. But Foot Esports, you know, they went the distance in map number 6 and they're sitting in the top 10. Kind of Looking at it, Gaming Gladiators not in 20th, sitting in 11th, finding some well-needed success here today. But it's interesting, Vicky. I look at Pioneers and Reply Totem, Nightmare Esports. We needed them to show up as well.
Yeah, but that's great news for Gaming Gladiators, you know, even if you needed the last 2 games to be able to put yourself in the 11th spot after the overall standings for today. That's great news for this team that wants to avoid getting relegated into the qualifiers. As we take a look at the overall standings here, Ascend still remaining as consistent as they can be today. Even if they didn't take the dub, they still stay on top with Aurora following them in second.
Big adjustments here. Obviously, Ascend, Aurora, and Vex look like they're going to be doing well and taking the top 2 spots, at least Ascend and Aurora. We'll see what happens when Vex gets into their lobby the next day, day 9, when we see them, I believe, on Thursday. But check out Fire Beavers. What a performance. VZN moving into qualifying for LAN. And I talked about Forge. They want to be there. They are now there. The only issue is, are they going to be able to hold on? Forge is not going to be playing again until the finals, and so they will have to perform big time in that day or win a spot, because assuredly these teams from C playing one more time will be able to push in, like Game Ward and maybe even Nightmare. Let's take a look at the backside of this, Vicky, as we look at the teams in trouble. Gaming Gladiators have done enough to push themselves a little bit higher outside of relegation. Big Fix Gaming also gained some extra points for safety too.
Yeah, Nightmare didn't have the pop-off performance that they needed, though, because they were sitting on the cusp in 10th before today. Now they're in 13th. So this is another team that needs to perform if they have the opportunity here. But with Game Ward now being able to take that 11th place spot, they have at least some breathing room. But if they want to perform in LAN, they still got to do better than they did today.
Start a fight actually getting out of relegation. They started in 24th position. They are now in 21st position based on how they played today. Hats off to them and all of our teams who are performing when it matters most. You love to see it in the backs against the wall. Who shows up? Start a fight certainly did today. Let's see if they can continue with that, and who maybe showed up more individually. We like to talk about the teams, but you had just mentioned it, Tiff, and it's Nags, the man, the myth, the legend, leading, or at least on time, on the top, tied with Joke here. 16 kills on the day. Zane, the only one following up within 2. What a performance from them.
I mean, look, if you're going to have 2 members of VZN within the top 3 on the series kill leaderboard for today, that just goes to show you that they put in the work, did what they needed to do to come out on top. I saw a tweet from Nags already. Number 1 today could have played better, but unreal from us. If this is what could have played better looks like, I'm excited to see what they're going to throw down with the regional final.
Excited doesn't quite say it well enough, although it does get the point across. Today we are exceptionally happy to see teams perform, and sometimes teams that we didn't expect but definitely needed to perform. But always there are individuals who stand out. So it's time to end the day with our monster MVP selections. I want to start with you, Vicky, because you have been speaking about a lot of these teams over the last 2 games. We saw some star-studded performances. Who to you stood out today?
Look, we saw a lot of these individual players pop off. We saw Zane have his moments, VJ have his moments, but I gotta talk about one of the members from Fire Beavers. It's gotta be 9 Impulse. From the very beginning, Fire Beavers started off incredibly strong with that insane double-digit first game. I believe they finished with 16 KP with the dub on top of it all, and then that still gave them room to play comfortably with the last 2 games on World's Edge and then end strong on Storm Point. Yeah, they got second place with a, 2-3 point difference between themselves and BZN, but 9 Impulse finished with a strong ending to a 13 KP day.
Hard to argue against that, Tiff, but I know you've highlighted somebody else yourself.
I have, and I'm excited to chat about them. Mine is going to be Game Ward, in particularly Yolu, the young gun, 16 years of age, from the French team, the former La Cite de France roster. And this team came in from the preseason qualifiers in particular and have found so much success here today. They were the ones that were kind of the thorn in the side of Fire Beavers. And you can see just right here, Yolu went absolutely disgusting. And I can only imagine that if Nicewig was watching this, you'd hear that big ew coming out of him. Sure, I can't do that justice, but you know, a great nomination out of me there.
Absolutely, some big nominations there, very well deserved. An honorable mention as well to Nags and Zane. These are 2 players that I think have been absolute MVP candidates. And in fact, VZN taking the W here overall in today. If that doesn't tell you that that's MVP worthy, I don't know what else will. That's been our Monster MVPs for today. All right, well, I'm very excited to begin getting into the back half of this show of this day. We're in the back half of EMEA overall, but we have started this day on fire. In fact, so much on fire that there was a team that kind of got us warm from the very beginning. In fact, they combined two things that shouldn't work together, Beavers and Fire. They made it work somehow today, and we've got someone from Fire Beavers to be able to kick off this conversation with. Of course, it's none other than OJ Rain, who will be joining us here for our interview post-game. OJ Rain, I saw a smirk there, a smile. How you feeling after today's performance?
Hello, I'm feeling very well.
I want to give you an opportunity to speak about how you feel your situation is in Apex Legends right now. You guys need wins. You want to push through. What is the, I guess, the conversation going on with your teammates as to what you guys needed to do today? And do you feel confident that you performed at your best this afternoon?
1 second, can I bring my translator here?
Please do, yes. Bring him in.
Okay.
I love the outfit as well. Look at this. Okay, we got OJ Rain's translator.
Hello. Something in
Nine Impulse. You translating for OJ Rain here, I'm hearing.
Yes, it's true. I hear you only in left ear.
Okay, well, I'll try to enunciate very clearly. Great performance from Fire Beavers today. Inside your team composition and dynamics within one another, how has it felt for you to have such a great day, knowing that you need it heading into the last 2 days of Pro League? Were you guys confident going in that you would perform well, knowing that the points were very valuable, or was this a surprise almost to you how well that you played?
Okay, I'm translating it to Святослав. Короче, сказали, что очень жестко сыграли, что молодцы. Говорит, уверенность была какая-то. Говорит, вы, говорит, подошли и что, готовы были? Чи не особо готовы были? Ну, конечно, мы были готовы, 100% уверенность по нефти контроллеру. He said yes, everything cool, we were ready. What was the question? Like the end of the question.
I was gonna say, I don't know if we needed to translate for yes and cool on the back half. I'm just joking. Oh, guys, yeah. I mean,
no, we really need.
Of how is the team composition feels like you guys are playing at a high level.
What one?
Like Nine Impulse. You got me. We might have to.
Diffuse or with Bangor? I will give it back to Svetoslav. Thank you.
Yeah, this isn't. I think the translation. We got lost in it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. My translator is not working well today. I can speak English. I think better.
Was it? Yeah, you might have been doing better than that, OJ Rain. Talk about how you felt today, just the confidence of the team. Can you give me some words about how the team felt today and your performance?
Today we were very confident because we practiced before this tourney. We saw a lot of mistakes in our past games. Before today, we almost fixed everything and we came prepared to today. This is the game day. For the next game,
awesome.
For the next game day, we're gonna be even better. So next day you will see top 1. After that you will see playoffs top 1, and there is something gonna be on LAN. Maybe probably only MVP's top 2, but also we are looking for top 1.
Dang, Tiff, what do you got for him?
Look, OJ, it was absolutely exciting to witness your journey throughout Pro League Split 1, and you mentioned it. You're coming in hot. You're confident, just outside the top 9. Where is this confidence kind of stemming from? I'm excited, but you guys are playing well. So tell me more about it. Do we have team dynamics that are you enjoying playing with your team, I'm assuming?
Our confidence, I think, because we are living together in one house, and with Master we are living in one apartment. So we have like synergy between each other. we almost every day, we're meeting each other, we're speaking, we're like real friends in real life. So it's make our confidence be even higher. And also, like as you can see, like this, we are going gym every day and like farming our confidence there as well. Yeah,
Nice.
so it's working like that.
I love that.
I like that energy. I like how you guys came into today with all that confidence. You guys are feeling yourselves outside of the game and in game, even though you guys were on the border of not making it into land. How are you guys feeling now after your results? You know, you guys are feeling yourselves out here, but were you guys that confident before today?
I mean, we had this confidence before as well, but we had some mistakes inside of the game that we didn't fix before. For now, we fix it. We have the same confidence, and next days we're gonna be even better.
Unbelievable stuff. And OJ Rain, I love the energy in that house. Seems like you guys are having a lot of fun. Congratulations on the win today. And hey, I'm excited to see you guys keep improving.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
All right, OJ Rain from Fire Beavers. A little bit of a fun moment with 9 Impulse as well. Guys, that was a very interesting interview, but it's always great to be able to see that they're feeling that, Vicky, this is a moment where they're only getting better and they're riding that high and energy, and we can kind of also feel it after just talking with them.
Yeah, I want to know what 9 Impulse is wearing on his head, if that's the reason why he came out on top with like 13 kills out here. He was truly feeling himself. But I love the energy from OJ Rain too, from Fire Beavers. They are looking to stay on top. And with VZN also being able to clutch up from being, what, 7th before that final game to taking the first place spot, it really does highlight how close in numbers this entire lobby was looking like today.
Tiff, you know, I want to get your final thoughts. You casted those last 2 games. You were a part of seeing OJ Rain and 9 Impulse, who was one of the people that you highlighted alongside Vicky in terms of MVP performances. What are your thoughts here after day 8 and EMEA finishes, and we've only got 2 more to go?
I think he said something that was quite important. Not only do you need to have your mental game strong, it's the physical as well. You heard it, going to the gym every day. We're currently in a house together, just building on that synergy and confidence. But if you can kind of feel like you're relatively healthy, going to the gym, getting that grind on, it really does bring it to the game as well. And I know a lot of players really talk about kind of getting their mental on point, and clearly it shows. They are incredibly confident, and I want to see some MVP status in Split 1 playoffs, because it sounds like they already know what the future is going to look like.
So great to mention that point that you found and figured out that I think might have been most important. The fact that they're doing real life things, building that synergy inside and outside of game. A lot of teams don't count that as valuable. We certainly do. I certainly experienced that as an athlete. I know you guys also work out and go to the gym, and it's an important aspect of staying as healthy as you can and doing these online performances. Thank you so much, Tiff and Vicky. We'll see you a little bit later, because this isn't the end of ALGS action for the day. You've been great. Well, what is going to come up? It's North America. That's right, at 2 p.m. Pacific time. We will be seeing teams vie for the same type of impact that they had today in EMEA. Teams fighting for their lives, and also teams trying to secure a spot at LAN, even if they don't show up. Will there be some surprises? Certainly will. 100 Thieves, they've got an opportunity to play big or play a little differently if they want it. Dark Zero, LG, Optic Gaming, SSG, Team Liquid, and Guard. Can't wait to see what they have in store. It's been a great day of EMEA action in the ALGS. It's day 8, and this was Group C versus Group A. A will have to sit out and wait until the regional finals, but B and C get to go together again on day 9. So you'll get to see if Fire Beavers can keep this up, if Aurora and Ascend will bounce back and claim the top spot, or if someone else will make it from relegation all the way into a chance at the regional final, like we saw start a fight to today. All of that coming up and more. My name's been Rain Day. We've been Vicky, Kitty, Spider Tiff. Thank you to production, everyone involved in the show, and you, the chat, the Apex family, who's been hanging out with us. We'll see you very shortly later this afternoon for some North American action. As always, never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you then.